Chapter 61. When Wuxia saw the two of them, he snapped, "What are you standing there for? Quickly come over and greet the Lord." Greet the Lord? Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng and young Lord Wan Hong were dumbfounded hearing Wuxia's thunderous reprimand. Lord? Lu Yiping? Wuxia harumphed coldly, seeing the two of them still standing there in a daze. His sharp gaze pierced through the air, scaring the Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng and young Lord Wan Hong. Not daring to hesitate, they hurried over to Lu Yiping to greet Lu Yiping. Since Lu Yiping had removed the Tiandu city's 10,000 divinities god force, the Tiandu city's residents returned to normal. The Wan family's core disciple Wan Bai ordered his subordinates to investigate Lu Yiping's whereabouts. Vice Commander, we haven't found the blue-robed young man's whereabouts yet, but we've found the old man and young man who were with them earlier. They are currently registering at our new division's registration location. It seems like they want to join our Wan family's new division. Wan Bai's subordinate replied. Registration for our Wan family's new division? Indifferent smile appeared on Wan Bai's face hearing that. Very well, we'll capture that old man and young man first, then we'll interrogate the blue-robed young man and the cow. Let's go to the new division's registration location. Wan family's core disciple Wan Bai led his subordinates to the new division's registration location. At this time, Li Bin and his disciple Yanggang were in the middle of the Wan family's new division's assessment. Lu Yiping was right. Li Bin had indeed swallowed 5 elements treasures, thus his physique, blood qi, and blood qi were much stronger than experts of the same realm. Adding to that, his cultivation method was not bad, thus he had successfully passed the Wan family's new division's assessment. His disciple Yanggang, who possessed the Titan giant bloodline, also easily passed the Wan family's new division's assessment. Li Bin and his disciple Yanggang stood in front of the ranking list. Seeing that both of their names were at the top of the list, both of them smiled happily. For each realm, as long as one could enter the top 100 in each batch's assessment, both of them were ranked in the top 10. Master, we passed the assessment, Yanggang said with a silly grin on his face. Yes, we passed. Li Bin laughed heartily. Let's go to the Tiandu restaurant and make reservations early. Then we'll invite Master Lu and the others to drink to their heart's content. Drink to our heart's content? At this time, an arrogant voice laughed. There's no need to go to the Tiandu restaurant. I'll accompany you to the execution ground in front of the Tiandu city gate to drink to your heart's content. Subsequently, Wan family's disciple Wan Bai led several hundred personal guards in their direction. When Li Bin saw clearly that it was Wan Bai, his expression changed. When the captain in charge of the assessment saw that it was Wan Bai, he quickly went up to him and said, "Greetings, Deputy Commander." Then he asked, "Deputy Commander, what are you doing?" When Li Bin heard that Wan Bai was a deputy commander, his heart sank again. Before they came, they had learned about the ranks of the Wan family army. From the lowest to the highest they were squad leader, squadron leader, brigade leader, and above the brigade leader was the deputy commander. Vice commander in the Wan family army could be said to be a very high position. These two have offended me before, Wan Bai said to the captain in charge of the assessment, then turned to the personal guards behind him. Arrest them and bring them away. Hearing Wan Bai's order, the captain in charge of the assessment had a difficult expression on his face. Deputy Commander, these two have already passed the assessment. According to the rules, they are now soldiers of the new army. They have not committed any crime, yet you want to take them away like this. This is not in accordance with the army's rules. Hearing this, Wan Bai sneered and directly slapped the test team leader's face, causing him to stagger back several steps. Who said they passed the assessment? I said they didn't pass, so they didn't pass. Indifferent, Wan Bai ordered. Arrest them for me. The personal guards behind Wan Bai charged at Li Bin and Yanggang. Inside the Wan clan's ancestral land, Wuxia's voice trembled as he spoke to Lu Yiping. Lord, since you've come out of seclusion, why don't you stay a little longer in the Wan clan? Let us, the younger generation of the Wan clan, serve you well on behalf of Lord Primal Ancestor. Lu Yiping glanced at Wuxia, saying indifferently, this time, I will be staying in the Tiandu city for a few days. His trip to the Tiandu city wasn't just for the Wan family, he had other matters to attend to. When Wuxia heard this, he was wild with joy. He said, Then I will have people prepare a banquet to welcome your excellency. There's no need for a banquet. Lu Yiping said indifferently. I've already made an appointment to the Tiandu Inn. Tiandu Inn? Wan Wudi was stunned, then said. Then I'll have people tidy up Lord Primogenitor's courtyard for Lord to stay in. Lu Yiping said. No need. I'll stay in the Myriad God's residence. Myriad God's residence? Wan Wudi was dumbfounded. The Myriad God's residence was the residence of the Myriad God's sovereign in the past. It was also within the Wan family residence. However, the Myriad God's residence was heavily guarded with restrictions. Even the Wan family primogenitor, Wan Bei, couldn't enter. However, Wan Wudi reacted quickly, respectfully replying, Then I'll wait at the Myriad God's residence, waiting for Lord to return from the Tiandu Inn. At that time, if Lord has any questions, I'll be able to answer them. Lu Yiping didn't object. Then left the Wan family's ancestral land with the Taurus Longjiao. Subsequently, Lu Yiping rode the Taurus Longjiao to the Wan family's new division's registration area. At this time, at the Wan family's new division's registration area, Li Bin and Yonggang were captured. The two of them were glaring at Wan Bai and his subordinates. That blue-robed young man and that cow, where are they now? Indifferent, Wan Bai asked. Yonggang glared at Wan Bai. I don't know. Don't know? Wan Bai's gaze turned frosty, taking a step forward. His fist struck Yonggang's dantian, shattering it. Yonggang! Li Bin bellowed, stop. Master Lu is a Pil King Hall's disciple. Wan Bai was stunned. Pil King Hall? Then he sneered. No wonder he dared to attack me. His face turned vicious. But so what if he's a Pil King Hall disciple? Even if he's a Pil King Hall disciple, I'll still cripple him. Is that so? A cold voice sounded. Li Bin and Yonggang were delighted hearing this familiar voice. Looking over, they saw Lu Yiping riding the Taurus Longjiao coming from the end of the street. Behind him were Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen. When Wan Bai saw Lu Yiping and Lu Yiping's Taurus Longjiao, a vicious light flickered in his eyes as he walked towards Lu Yiping. Wan Bai stared fixedly at Lu Yiping. Punk, you came at the right time. Then he looked at the Taurus Longjiao. These past few days, I've been looking for you and your cow pet. Chapter 62. The Wan family's core disciple Wan Bai's eyes glinted fiercely. Cripple them for me. The soldiers under his command rushed towards Lu Yiping. However, before these soldiers could reach Lu Yiping, a person suddenly rushed out from behind Lu Yiping. That person punched out, sending Wan Bai and the Wan family's soldiers flying. The person who attacked was the Wan family's ancestor, Wan Rong. This Wan Rong was of the same generation as Wan Wudi. Wan Wudi was afraid that someone inside the Tiandu city would disturb Lu Yiping. Thus he sent Wan Rong to protect Lu Yiping from afar. The Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong, who was following behind Lu Yiping, almost lost his soul when he saw the Wan family's core disciple Wan Bai was about to attack Lu Yiping. How could he care about anything else? Miserable screams filled the air. Wan Bai fell into the crowd and found that his meridians and dantian were all shattered by the other party. He was furious and his killing intent soared. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Wan Rong. Who are you? Wan Rong was of the same generation as Wan Wudi, and he hadn't left the Wan family's ancestral land for many years. Moreover, with Wan Bai's identity, it was difficult for him to meet Wan Rong. Thus he didn't recognize Wan Rong. Wan Rong's face turned cold when he saw Wan Bai's bloodshot eyes glaring at him, asking him who he was. Another slap landed on Wan Bai's face. I am your ancestor. Wan Bai was slapped into the crowd. The crowd was in chaos. At this time, footsteps could be heard as groups of Wan family's soldiers rushed over. Leading them was the Wan family's new legion's deputy commander. The deputy commander saw Wan Rong from afar, and felt that Wan Rong looked familiar. When he got closer and saw that it was Wan Rong, his legs turned to jelly. He hurried to Wan Rong's side and bowed. Ancestor Wan Rong. Why are you here? Wan Bai, who was slapped into the crowd, stuttered. Ancestor Wan Rong? This old man was really his ancestor. Li Bin, Yonggang, and the Wan family's experts were dumbfounded. This silver-haired old man who suddenly attacked was the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong? Wan Rong was the Wan family's number 2 expert. A peak late-stage true god. Even in the Hengyuan realm he was famous. The Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong did not pay attention to the crowd. Instead, he turned around and approached Lu Yiping, bowing deeply. "Lord, these ignorant fools did not disturb Lord, did they?" Unknowingly, beads of cold sweat formed on his forehead. Seeing the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong, who was second only to Wan Wudi, bow and address Lu Yiping as Lord, Wan Bai's mind went blank. Li Bin, Yonggang, and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Yiping dismounted from the Taurus Longjiao's back and walked in front of Li Bin and Yonggang. He raised his hand and a green light surged from his finger. A green water droplet appeared on his finger, and a surging life force filled the air. Wan clan's old ancestor Wan Rong stared at the green droplet on Lu Yiping's finger in shock. Was this the origin energy of the ancient god of life? Life energy? With a tap of Lu Yiping's finger, that droplet of life energy fell into Yanggong's dantian. In an instant, Yanggong's dantian, which was shattered by the Wan family's core disciple, Wan Bai, began to heal. In the end, Yonggang could clearly feel that his dantian was tougher and wider than before. "Many thanks, young noble." Yonggang gratefully thanked Huang Xiaolong. Lu Yiping nodded. As for Li Bin, his injuries were not serious. After swallowing a medicinal pellet, he recovered a lot. Only then did Lu Yiping speak to the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong. "Since he's a Wan family disciple, your Wan family will be dealt with according to the Wan family's rules." Huang Xiaolong's voice was calm, but the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong's heart tightened hearing Huang Xiaolong's words. He hurriedly complied, looking at the Wan family's core disciple Wan Bai as if he was looking at a dead man. Subsequently, Lu Yiping, Li Bin, Yonggang, and the rest left the scene. After leaving the scene, Lu Yiping's group went to the Tiandu Inn. Li Bin followed closely behind Lu Yiping, guessing Lu Yiping's identity. Since Lu Yiping was from the Medicine King Hall, then since the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong was so respectful to him, could he be the Medicine King Hall's Lord Medicine King? Or the Medicine King Hall's ancestor Li? Only the Medicine King Hall's ancestor and ancestor Li could make the Wan family's ancestor Wan Rong act so respectfully. Legend had it that the Medicine King Hall's Medicine King had consumed a chaos divine herb. His appearance would remain forever young. While Li Bin was guessing, Lu Yiping spoke. "You don't need to guess. I'm not from the Medicine King Hall." Li Bin was stunned, scratching his head awkwardly. "I thought young noble was the Lord Medicine King." Taurus Longjiao laughed, "That whatever Medicine King, although his appearance is forever young, he's not as handsome as my master." Li Bin choked. He didn't know how to respond. An existence like the Medicine King Hall's Medicine King wasn't someone he could casually discuss. Not long after they arrived at the Sky Capital restaurant, they saw the sloppy old man, Zhou Cheng, riding his donkey over. However, just as they were about to enter the restaurant, Zhou Cheng and his donkey were stopped by the restaurant's waiter. Seeing this, Lu Yiping found it funny. In the end, it was Li Bin who went out and brought Zhou Cheng in. After entering, Zhou Cheng asked Lu Yiping, "Were you the one who fought with that brat Wan Wudi?" Li Bin was shocked when he heard this. The person who had caused such a huge commotion in Sky Capital and fought with the master of the Shenwu continent, Wan Wudi, had been Master Lu? Zhou Cheng continued, "The Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Dark Demon Hall are already plotting. They should be joining forces to kill you. The armies of the Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Dark Demon Hall will arrive soon." The Dark Ghost sect had communicated with the Jiutian, Divine Earth, and Netherworld Prison, and had learned that Lu Yiping wasn't from the Jiutian. Divine Earth and Netherworld Prison also knew that he wasn't a godchild. Lu Yiping's expression remained indifferent. The Dark Ghost sect and Netherworld Devil sect claimed that they were here to avenge Hao Dan and Su Xiao, but it was a lie. They were only interested in the Heavenly Mammoth Divine Prison Fist, and the Divine Fist of Time in his possession. They even thought that he had obtained the treasures of the Sacred Demon and Father Time. Taurus Longjiao laughed when he heard this. "I hope that the Dark Ghost sect, Netherworld Devil sect, and Dark Demon Hall don't just send a few cats and dogs. Otherwise, they won't even be enough to fill the gaps between my teeth." Li Bin was confused. The Dark Ghost sect, Netherworld Devil sect, and Dark Demon Hall's armies? Zhou Cheng said to Li Bin, "You probably don't know, but this is young Master Lu Yiping, known as the Zither Immortal." Young Master Lu Yiping. Li Bin was shocked when he heard this. He only knew that Lu Yiping's surname was Lu, but he didn't know about Lu Yiping's identity. The donkey glanced at Taurus Longjiao. Don't boast too early. When the Dark Ghost Sect's armies arrive, you'll be so scared that your hair will turn black. After drinking, Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao returned to the Wan family's main residence, while Li Bin and Yanggang went to report to the Wan family's new legion. As for Zhou Cheng, he followed Lu Yiping to the Wan family's main residence. Wan Wudi was already waiting in front of the Myriad God residence, but he was surprised when he saw Zhou Cheng beside Lu Yiping. What Wudi brat? Don't you recognize this old beggar after becoming the master of Shenwu continent? Zhou Cheng asked. Chapter 63. Wan Wudi quickly smiled and said, Senior Zhou Cheng must be joking. I just didn't think that Senior Zhou Cheng would come with sir, so I was momentarily stunned. Senior Zhou Cheng, please don't take offense. Then he said, I will deliver the Azure Sea wine to Senior Zhou Cheng. Zhou Cheng smiled with satisfaction. You Chen Qingyang Luoning and the others, you're the only one I like. As Wan Wudi and Zhou Cheng were chatting, Lu Yiping arrived in front of the Myriad God's residence and walked in without any obstruction. Wan Wudi was stunned. This Myriad God's residence had a terrifying array formation. He had tried countless times but was unable to approach within 10 meters of it. But Lu Yiping had actually walked in like this? Even Zhou Cheng was surprised. No one could enter the Myriad God's residence. This was something that many masters of the Eternal Essence world knew. Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi also tried to walk in. But what surprised them was that the Myriad God's residence's array formation didn't appear at all. The two of them also walked in without any obstruction. What was going on? Could it be that the Myriad God's residence's array formation had been broken? But they hadn't seen Lu Yiping make a move just now. Don't blame me for not reminding you. You can come in but don't touch anything. Lu Yiping indifferently said. Otherwise, you'll die without an intact corpse. Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi's hearts chilled. In truth, there wasn't anything important in this Myriad God's residence. Thus Lu Yiping had allowed them to enter. Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi followed behind Lu Yiping. They saw that the stone table in the courtyard was actually made from a single piece of violet sunstone. Violet sunstone was a rare type of divine stone. Even in Jiutian it was difficult to find. Heavencraft Chamber of Commerce had once auctioned off a square meter of violet sunstone for $1 billion. As they passed through the courtyard, a divine tree appeared in front of them. Azure Flame Divine Tree. Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi were stunned. The leaves of the Azure Flame Divine Tree carried Azure Divine Flames. These Azure Divine Flames could be used to refine divine pills, temper the divine body, and had all sorts of wonderful uses. Its value was even higher than violet sunstones. Extreme Celestial Sect had one. In the Hengyuan Plain there was only one Extreme Celestial Sect. However, in the Extreme Celestial Sect, the Azure Flames had yet to transform into a spirit. The Azure Flames in front of him had already done so. Behind the Azure Flame Divine Tree, Lu Yiping led the group to the front hall. In the main hall of the front hall, there were 4 bronze pillars that could only be encircled by several people. All sorts of ancient patterns were carved on the copper pillars. The two of them discovered that the copper pillar was actually made of mysterious yellow crystal iron. Mysterious yellow crystal iron was one of the toughest divine materials in the Eternity Plane. It could be used to forge supreme-grade divine artifacts. A supreme-grade divine artifact forged with mysterious yellow crystal iron was far more powerful than other supreme-grade divine artifacts. As for everything else in the palace, they were all extraordinary items. Lu Yiping looked at these items with a calm expression. These things were of no use to him. Finally, Lu Yiping arrived at the inner hall of the Myriad God's residence, the place where the Master of Myriad Gods usually cultivated. There was a long sword hanging on the wall of the inner hall. The long sword was completely black and emitted a cold aura. Other than the long sword, there was also a cold jade bed. There was nothing else. This was the residence of the Master of Myriad Gods in the past. It was not his cultivation dwelling, but his cultivation dwelling was somewhere else. Lu Yiping took out the long sword. When he unsheathed the sword, the entire hall was plunged into darkness. Even Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi couldn't see their fingers clearly. Not only that, But they also discovered that their divine sense couldn't sense their surroundings in this darkness. It was completely blocked by the dark energy. Lu Yiping sheathed the sword, and only then did the hall return to normal. Eye of Eternal Night? Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi looked at the sword in Lu Yiping's hand with fear and trepidation. The Eye of Eternal Night, the devil race's supreme devil sword. That's right. This is the sword of the devil race's lord, Eternal Night, the Eye of Eternal Night. Lu Yiping confirmed. As expected. Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi's hearts shook when they heard Lu Yiping say that this was the Eye of Eternal Night. Half an hour later, Zhou Cheng and Wan Wudi left the Myriad God's residence. Coming out from the Myriad God's residence, Zhou Cheng muttered, "Why is the Eye of Eternal Night in the Myriad God's residence? Could it be that the devil race's lord was killed by the master of Myriad Gods?" According to the records in the God canon, the devil race's lord, Eternal Night, had suddenly died in his own bedroom. As for the murderer, no one knew. The Eternal Night King's sword, the Eye of Eternal Night, had also disappeared. Now the Eye of Eternal Night had appeared in the Myriad God's residence. Zhou Cheng was bewildered. On the other hand, Wan Wudi's expression changed. "Little Wudi, do you know something?" Zhou Cheng noticed Wan Wudi's expression and asked, "You must know Lu Yiping's background, right? What is his background?" Wan Wudi shook his head. "Senior Zhou Cheng, you don't need to ask me." Zhou Cheng was even more bewildered. Earlier he had made many guesses about Lu Yiping's background, but now it seemed that it wasn't the case. After Wan Wudi and Zhou Cheng left, Lu Yiping rubbed the Eye of Eternal Night. Other than being the Eternal Night King's personal sword, this Eye of Eternal Night had another important meaning to the devil race. Therefore, for so many years, the devil race's experts had been searching for this Eye of Eternal Night. Could Su Cheng's death have something to do with this Eye of Eternal Night? Taurus Longjiao suddenly asked. The master of Myriad God's real name was Su Cheng. Lu Yiping understood Taurus Longjiao's meaning and shook his head. "It shouldn't be. No one knew that I gave the Eye of Eternal Night to Su Cheng. What if it's someone close to Su Cheng?" Taurus Longjiao asked. "Perhaps." Lu Yiping's gaze deepened. The next day, Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao left the Myriad God's residence, arriving at a dilapidated courtyard in the Tiandu city. The courtyard's wooden door had rotted away, and weeds grew everywhere. Lu Yiping walked up to the courtyard's moss-covered stone steps and sat down. He took out a bottle of wine and drank for an hour. An hour later, he and Taurus Longjiao left for an ancient clock tower in the Tiandu city. By the time he returned to the Myriad God's residence, the sky had already darkened. This continued for several days. Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao strolled around the Tiandu city. On this day, when Lu Yiping was riding Taurus Longjiao through a busy street, a shocking sword chi cut through the void, arriving in front of Lu Yiping in an instant. Seeing that the sword chi was about to cut Lu Yiping's throat open, Lu Yiping clamped the sword chi in the air with both hands, then waved his hand, sending the sword chi into the crowd. Immediately, a middle-aged man was struck by the sword chi and flew out from the crowd. The middle-aged man looked at Lu Yiping in shock. He didn't expect that his sure kill attack would be blocked by Lu Yiping. Aleya's sword. Lu Yiping looked at the middle-aged man indifferently. An assassin from the Path of Slaughter? The Path of Slaughter was the most mysterious and ancient assassin organization in the Eternal Origin world. The Path of Slaughter had even successfully assassinated Heavenly God Realm experts. The middle-aged man in front of Huang Xiaolong was a peak late-stage True God Realm expert. Moreover, he was a peak late-stage True God Realm expert who had comprehended more than 100 Heavenly God laws. Chapter 64. After one's cultivation reached peak late-stage True God Realm, one could comprehend Heavenly God's laws. After comprehending 10,000 strands of Heavenly God's laws and successfully integrating them, one would break through to the Heavenly God Realm. Therefore, there were differences in strength between peak late-stage True God Realm experts. Comprehending 100 strands of Heavenly God's laws and comprehending 200 strands of Heavenly God's laws would make a huge difference in battle power. The difference between comprehending 1,000 strands of Heavenly Dao Law and comprehending 500 strands of Heavenly Dao Law was even greater. Of course, Heavenly God's laws weren't easy to comprehend. The further one progressed, the harder it was to comprehend them. This assassin from the path of slaughter had comprehended more than 100 strands of heavenly God's laws. The middle-aged man looked coldly at Lu Yiping. I didn't expect you to be so strong. However, my assassination failed. Lord Grim Reaper will send someone stronger to kill you next time. The Grim Reaper was the leader of the path of slaughter. There were many assassin organizations in the Hengyuan world, but only the leader of the path of slaughter could obtain the title of Grim Reaper. As for this Grim Reaper's strength, no one knew. However, right at this time, a dagger pierced towards Lu Yiping's back. Its speed was extremely fast, much faster than the previous sword chi. Moreover, the dagger was covered in black ink, clearly stained with poison. This time, the path of slaughter didn't only send the same middle-aged man to kill Lu Yiping, but they also sent another person. This person's strength was much stronger than the previous middle-aged man. However, when the dagger was an inch away from Lu Yiping's back, it suddenly stopped. The dagger-wielding assassin from the path of slaughter was shocked. Spatial stagnation? Lu Yiping turned around, looking at the other party with a cold gaze. The other party was a woman. A very beautiful woman. Soul-devouring poison. Taurus Longjiao looked at the dagger. The poison on the dagger was the world's most powerful poison. Soul-devouring poison. Even if a heavenly god realm expert was poisoned, it would be difficult to expel it. And those below the heavenly god realm would die. Lu Yiping's body emitted a bright light, sending the assassin flying. As for the dagger, it turned into fine dust. "Wanna leave?" The middle-aged man shouted at the female assassin who appeared behind him. Following which, his entire body surged with radiance, turning into countless blade chi that slashed towards Lu Yiping. The woman behind him didn't hesitate and immediately flew into the sky. He instantly disappeared into the crowd. "Leave!" Lu Yiping sneered. With a suction force from his hand, the female assassin who had disappeared earlier was once again pulled out from the void by Lu Yiping. She fell to the ground. As for the middle-aged man's saber chi, it was shattered by Taurus Longjiao's palm strike. The middle-aged man was slapped to the ground. Taurus Longjiao's huge bull leg stomped into the opponent's chest, shattering his armor. The middle-aged man who was being stepped on by Taurus Longjiao suddenly had black blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. His entire body instantly turned purplish-black. It was clear that the assassin had consumed poison after seeing that the assassination attempt had failed. It was none other than the soul-devouring poison from earlier. After the middle-aged man, black blood also flowed out from the corner of the woman's mouth. Her entire body also turned purplish-black. Seeing that both of them were about to die from the poison, Lu Yiping's finger suddenly emitted a bright light that entered the surrounding space. The two assassins were alarmed to discover that not only did the space around them stop, but it also started to flow in reverse, returning them to the time before they consumed the poison. Space-time reversal. Both of them couldn't believe their eyes. Space-time reversal was harder to comprehend and control than stagnating space. Even the extreme celestial gates Jiang, you couldn't control space-time reversal. After reversing space-time, Lu Yiping pulled the two assassins in front of him and searched their souls. It didn't take long for Lu Yiping to finish scouring their souls. Lu Yiping extracted all the heavenly gods' laws from their godheads and transferred them into Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen's godheads. Then he crushed them and threw them into the universe cauldron. The battle between Lu Yiping and the two assassins was completely isolated by Lu Yiping's space-time law. Thus it did not startle the surrounding people. "Master, did the Een Ghost sect and Netherworld Devil sect hire assassins from the path of slaughter?" Taurus Longjiao asked. "Probably not." Lu Yiping shook his head. The two assassins from the path of slaughter didn't know who their employer was, but Lu Yiping's intuition told him otherwise. If the Een Ghost sect and Netherworld Devil sect wanted to kill him, they would do it themselves. They wouldn't go to the trouble of hiring assassins from the path of slaughter. Although the two assassins didn't know who their employer was, the path of slaughter's leader, Killing God, definitely knew. Lu Yiping returned to the Wan family's main residence and called Wan Wudi over. Path of slaughter? Wan Wudi was surprised when he heard Lu Yiping asking about the path of slaughter. "Two experts from the path of slaughter tried to assassinate you, master," Taurus Longjiao said. "What?" Wan Wudi's face sank. "Then I'll lock down the entire sky capital and search the city." "No need," Lu Yiping said. Only 2 of them came and I killed them. Do you know the Path of Slaughter's headquarters? Wan Wudi shook his head and muttered. The Path of Slaughter's headquarters is a mystery. Only one person knows about it. Who? Lu Yiping asked. Jiang Yu of the extreme celestial sect. Wan Wudi said in a different tone. Oh. Lu Yiping was surprised. Wan Wudi said. I heard that Jiang Yu fought with the Path of Slaughter's killing god. He's also the only one who survived. If this killing god is so strong, why isn't he ranked in the Eternal Plane's top 10 experts? Taurus Longjiao asked. Because no one knows his true strength, so there's no way to rank him, Wan Wudi said. Martial God Hall's martial god Juju hasn't fought for many years, so there's no ranking either. As Wan Wudi spoke, he carefully glanced at Lu Yiping. Martial god Juju of the Martial God Palace had entered the sacred forest. As for the relationship between martial god Juju and Lu Yiping, many people were guessing. At this time, Lu Yiping's communication talisman vibrated. He took it out and saw that it was a message from the Heavenly Secret Chamber of Commerce's branch president, Sun Lishuan. Back then, he had asked the Heavenly Secret Chamber of Commerce to help him investigate Yang Dong's disappearance. Now there was a result. After reading the message, Lu Yiping smiled indifferent. Luoning. Back then, Yang Dong had received an invitation to enter the battlefield of the gods, but had gone missing. Now the Heavenly Secret Chamber of Commerce had found out that the person who had invited Yang Dong was sword god Luoning. When Lu Yiping mentioned Luoning, Wan Wudi was stunned. Lu Yiping tossed the communication talisman to Wan Wudi. Wan Wudi was also surprised when he read the message. Did that mean that Yang Dong's disappearance had something to do with Luoning? Master, Luoning isn't simple. Wan Wudi thought for a moment, then said. He has a good relationship with the Joqin's Taiqing Sword School. When he mentioned the Taiqing Sword School, Wan Wudi's expression turned serious. In the Hengyuan Plain there were 10 superpowers. The Great Celestial Sect was the leader of the 10 superpowers. However, there were 3 special existences above the Great Celestial Sect. The Jotian, the Divine Land, the Netherworld Prison. These 3 powers were above Tai sect. As for the Taiqing Sword School, it was one of the strongest superpowers in the Jotian. Chapter 65. Oh, Taiqing Sword School. Lu Yiping's expression did not change. Taurus Longjiao snickered. So, it's those old birds from Taiqing Sword School. Could this Luoning be one of those old birds' disciples? Old birds? Wan Wudi's face stiffened. He knew who Taurus Longjiao was talking about, but it wasn't appropriate for him to say anything. We'll leave in a bit. Lu Yiping said. Lord, you're leaving in a bit? Wan Wudi was surprised, hesitating to speak. Lu Yiping glanced at Wan Wudi, asking, You want some green flames to temper your body? Wan Wudi's face flushed red. He didn't expect Lu Yiping to see through his thoughts. He had just broken through to the heavenly god realm. If he could use the Azure Flame's Divine Tree's green flames to temper his heavenly god physique, it would save him several hundred years of cultivation. Lu Yiping said, Although the Azure Flame's Divine Tree's green flames are useful, the effect is still lacking. A ball of golden flames appeared on his fingertip as he said this. In an instant, the space around them seemed to be immersed in lava. Wan Wudi stared at the golden flames in Lu Yiping's hand, exclaiming in shock, This is Phoenix Flames? That's right. It's the Phoenix Flames born from the Divine Phoenix Tree. Lu Yiping confirmed, and with a tap of his finger, the Phoenix Flames entered Wan Wudi's body. This Phoenix Flames are many times better than the Azure Flame's Divine Tree's green flames. Lu Yiping said, When you refine them, you can carefully comprehend the law of fire contained within. Wan Wudi respectfully knelt down, gratefully thanking Lu Yiping. Many thanks, Lord. Get up, Lu Yiping said. If there's anything you don't understand in your cultivation, you can ask me now. Wan Wudi was ecstatic. After getting up, he began to ask Lu Yiping about the problems he had encountered in his cultivation in the past few years. 1 hour later, Lu Yiping, Taurus Longjiao, Zhou Cheng, and the others left the heavenly capital city. Wan Wudi personally escorted them to the outskirts of the city. Long after Lu Yiping had disappeared into the horizon, Wan Wudi returned to the Wan family ancestral grounds. I didn't expect that Luoning's matter would be related. After they left, The heavenly god realm's heart? Zhou Cheng frowned. He had sent the message talisman's talisman. He had read Lu Yiping. He also knew that Lu Yiping was heading to the Luo Manor. Lu Yiping Luo's Luo 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 Luo. The dragon horn golden bull chuckled. I hope that Brat Yongdong's death has nothing to do with him. After a pause it continued. If it has something to do with him, then his fate will be worse than Yongdong's. Lu Yiping was expressionless. Zhou Cheng sighed. I've long since seen through Luo Ning's evil intentions. However, his relationship with the Jiutian Taiqing Sword School isn't simple. He's been coveting the position of master of Shenwu continent for the past few years, and he's hoping that the Taiqing Sword School doesn't support him. At the mention of the Jiutian Taiqing Sword School, Zhou Cheng's expression turned serious. 3 days later, Lu Yiping and the others arrived at the Wraith Plains. The Wraith Plains was the largest plain on Shenwu continent. It was also the most chaotic plain on the continent. Within the plains, the various powers were intertwined. In this place there was no power from any empire. Even the Wan clan couldn't control this place. Many evil powers were gathered here, including the Dark Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Tan family. Most of their forces were gathered here. The Dark Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Tan family had branches here, and they were the most important branches on Shenwu continent. Aside from the Dark Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, the Tan family's branches, the Raging Inferno sect, the Paradise Court, the Cthulhuism Society, and the Heavenly Ghost sect were all headquartered here. Fighting and killing could be seen everywhere in this place. The Luo Manor's forces were located on the other side of the Wraith Plains. Lu Yiping and the others only needed to cross the Wraith Plains to reach the Luo Manor. Legend has it that the ancient Wraith fell here, which is why the evil aura here is so dense. Zhou Cheng sat on his donkey and drank wine. Some say that the ancient Wraith didn't actually die, and his heart is still alive. The ancient Wraith god was the master of myriad gods' greatest enemy. However, the ancient Wraith god was extremely powerful, and he was one of the top 10 ancient experts just like the master of myriad gods. Even the master of myriad gods couldn't do anything to him. Taurus Longjiao replied, that Brat Chongliang has already cultivated an eternal demon heart. Even if his spirit and body are destroyed, his heart will continue to live. The ancient Wraith god's real name was Chongliang. Eternal demon heart. Zhou Cheng's expression changed when he heard this. He knew how difficult it was to successfully cultivate an eternal demon heart. In the history of the Eternity Plane, only one person had succeeded in cultivating an eternal demon heart. However, he had never heard of the ancient Wraith god successfully cultivating it. Taurus Longjiao grunted in agreement. This brat's talent is truly monstrous. Moreover, he obtained the supreme ancient Wraith god's cultivation method and cultivated it to the final stage. Zhou Cheng didn't know who ancient Wraith god was, but he guessed that he was an expert of the ancient Wraith race. Did the ancient Wraith god really cultivate an eternal demon heart? Zhou Cheng asked in shock. But there is no record of it in the ancient god canon. Taurus Longjiao chuckled. There are many things that are not recorded in the ancient god canon. That Brat Chongliang's body hair is purple, but there is no record of it in the ancient god canon. Zhou Cheng spat out the wine in his mouth. There was such a thing? You even know this? He looked at Taurus Longjiao suspiciously. How do you know all this? Taurus Longjiao chuckled and said, because I plucked that brat's body hair. Donkey sneered. Why don't you say that you plucked the ancient heavenly emperor's hair? Zhou Cheng shook his head. Lu Yiping didn't say anything. In the ancient Wraith god's body hair had indeed been plucked by Xiao Jin. Moreover, all of his body hair had been plucked clean. However, Lu Yiping still found that Brat Chongliang quite pleasing to the eye. Although this brat did things in a straightforward manner, he didn't cause great suffering. After the Battle of the Gods, he hid in the sacred forest and didn't come out. Many years later he learned about the ancient Wraith god's death. After entering the Wraith god plane, Lu Yiping frowned as he sensed the faint evil qi in the plane. Who set up this array? Was it the person who killed the ancient Wraith god? Since the other party had killed the ancient Wraith god, why would they set up this array here? Not long after they saw an ancient city. The ancient city stretched across the Wraith god plane. The city walls were almost full of sword marks, saber marks, and marks made by various weapons. Grand Desolation City. On the city gate there were 3 words carved in ancient Wraith God Plain. Grand Desolation City was the largest city in the Wraith God Plain. It was also the oldest city of the ancient Wraith God. Although it was called Grand Desolation City, it wasn't desolate at all. In the city there was an endless stream of experts from various forces. I heard that the Ksitagarbha Sutra appeared. A brat used the Ksitagarbha Sutra's ultimate technique and killed an elder of the Paradise faction. Whispers kept coming from the crowd. The most talked about by the experts was the news of the Ksitagarbha Sutra, one of the 4 great Buddhist scriptures appearing. Chapter 66. Ksitagarbha Sutra. Zhou Cheng was shocked at the name. The 4 great Buddhist scriptures were Hengyuan Plain's supreme treasures. Regardless of which scripture appeared, it was a major event in Hengyuan Plain. Lu Yiping was also surprised. Now that the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture was in his hands, did the other Ksitagarbha Sutra also appear? The Ksitagarbha Sutra's Ksitagarbha Thousand Buddha Hands is a Buddhist Tao's supreme art. I've heard that once this Ksitagarbha Thousand Buddha Hands is used, all devils and devils will be annihilated, and the user's battle prowess will increase by 1,000 times. No one will be a match for the user. Not only that, the Ksitagarbha Thousand Buddha Hands can pluck the stars in the sky and explore the Yellow Springs River in hell. The entire Fiend God Plains is looking for this kid. I've heard that he's wearing blue robes and looks to be in his 20s, handsome and extraordinary. The experts passing by were talking about Huang Xiaolong. Lu Yiping was stunned. The other party was also wearing blue robes. Zhou Cheng looked sideways at Lu Yiping, joking, "Don't tell me they're talking about you?" Originally, Zhou Cheng was just joking, but many experts' gazes fell on Lu Yiping. One of the Blazing Fire Gate's disciples even walked towards Lu Yiping. The disciple looked at Lu Yiping from head to toe and asked suspiciously, "You're that blue-robed kid?" Another Blazing Fire Gate's disciple laughed. "Whether it's him or not, we'll know once we search him and see if he has the Ksitagarbha Sutra." Several Blazing Fire Gate's disciples did not hesitate, reaching out to grab Lu Yiping. However, when these several Blazing Fire Gate's disciples' hands were about to touch Lu Yiping, 1,000 Zhonglong fire dragon flew out from Lu Yiping's body. The fire dragon's roar shook the sky as it soared into the sky. These several Blazing Fire Gate's disciples were burned to ashes by the fire dragon's flames. The sudden change stunned all the disciples and experts passing by, looking at the giant fire dragon in the sky. Fire dragon. While everyone was still in shock, a Blood Sword Gate's Grand Elder suddenly spoke. "This is an artifact spirit." He then added, "The fire dragon contains Buddhism energy." Fire Dragon Buddhist Scriptures. Fire Dragon's Fire Dragon. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar. Zhou Cheng was also stunned for a while. Fire Dragon Buddhist Sutra? F***CK. Not only did Lu Yiping have Holy Demon and Old Man Time's astronomical divine prison fist, but he also had the Fire Dragon Sutra, one of the 4 great Buddhist sutras? Lu Yiping looked at the shocked crowd and said indifferently, "That's right. This is the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture." The fire dragon flew back to Lu Yiping's side and coiled around Lu Yiping's body. Just as Lu Yiping's words fell, 1,000 Zhonglong blade light pierced through the air, slashing down at Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping didn't seem to move, but the fire dragon soared into the sky and smashed the saber light in an instant. Then the giant dragon claw slammed down. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly dodged. A loud boom was heard, and the ground around them trembled violently. A giant fire dragon claw pit appeared on the ground in front of them. The person who attacked was slammed into the pit by the fire dragon, turning into a pile of charcoal. "It looks like Devilfall Valley's Grand Elder Wu Yu." Some experts were shocked. Devilfall Valley's Grand Elder Wu Yu was a 10th layer Emperor Realm expert with a high chance of becoming a god. How could he be slapped to death just like that? The fire dragon flickered and turned into a golden book of flames, falling into Lu Yiping's palm. Everyone's eyes burned with desire when they saw the book. Their eyes were fixed on the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. "Is there anyone else who wants to make a move?" Lu Yiping asked indifferently. But the surroundings were silent. Lu Yiping put away the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture, then rode on the Taurus Longjiao and left with Zhang Jin and the others. Just as Lu Yiping was about to leave, a Yin Ghost sex expert whistled through the air. Indifferent to Lu Yiping, that person stood in the air. Looking at Lu Yiping, kid, the fire dragon Buddhist scripture is a Buddhist treasure. It's not something you can have. But just as he finished speaking, he was sliced in half by a sword chi. The person who attacked was Zhang Jin. Everyone looked at Zhang Jin in shock. This time no one tried to stop him. The crowd watched as Lu Yiping's group left. When Lu Yiping left, the crowd was in an uproar. The fire dragon Buddhist scripture also appeared. I've heard that anyone who cultivates any of the 4 great Buddhist scriptures will possess a supreme Buddha physique. Back then, the Tan family had been searching for the fire dragon Buddhist scripture for many years in the fire dragon temple, but it ended up in this blue-robed young man's hands. They are both wearing blue robes. Could they be brothers from the same sect? Soon, the news of the fire dragon Buddhist scripture's appearance spread across the Fiend God Plains. Everyone was stirred up once again. After Lu Yiping left, Zhou Cheng asked, "Did you do that on purpose?" Lu Yiping had clearly revealed the fire dragon Buddhist scripture on purpose. Did he want to lure all the experts from the Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Dark Demon Hall over? Lu Yiping's expression was calm, as he had indeed done it on purpose. Since he was passing by the Fiend God Plains, he might as well take care of the Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Dark Demon Hall's forces on the plains. However, rather than looking for them one by one, it would be better to lure the Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, and the Dark Demon Hall over together. In a certain tavern, a young man wearing blue robes like Lu Yiping heard the discussion in the tavern and was astonished. The fire dragon Buddhist scripture? Was this a coincidence? He had come to the Shenwu continent this time to go to the fire dragon temple and find the fire dragon Buddhist scripture. It looks like there's no need to go to the fire dragon temple. The young man sneered, and his figure disappeared into thin air. Night fell. The night had quieted down. However, the air of the Fiend God Plains was still filled with the stench of blood. Within a dilapidated courtyard, Lu Yiping and a few others were gathered around a bonfire. At this time several people walked in. When Zhou Cheng saw them, he was surprised to see that they were disciples of the Luo family. He glanced at Lu Yiping. He had not expected that the fire dragon Buddhist scripture would not attract the experts of the Yin Ghost sect, the Netherworld Devil sect, or the Dark Demon Hall, but the disciples of the Luo family. After the disciples of the Luo family entered, their gazes landed on Lu Yiping. The young man in the lead cupped his fists and smiled. "I am Luo Zhen, the young master of the Luo family. Is the fire dragon Buddhist scripture with you?" Zhou Cheng looked at the young man in front of him and asked, "Are you that little girl Luo Tong's elder brother?" Luo Zhen was stunned and he smiled. "Senior knows my sister? How should I address you?" Zhou Cheng shook his head and said, "For that little girl Luo Tong's sake, listen to my advice, go back." Luo Zhen smiled, obviously not taking Zhou Cheng's words to heart. He looked at Lu Yiping and asked, "Which sect are you from, young noble?" Lu Yiping did not speak, waiting for the other party to continue. "You killed the Raging Fire Gate, Devilfall Valley, and Yin Ghost sect's experts during the day. Now the Raging Fire Gate, Devilfall Valley, and Yin Ghost sect's experts have placed you on their must-kill list." Luo Zhen smiled. "I'm afraid it will be difficult for young noble to leave the Fiend God Plains." Lu Yiping smiled hearing this, and he already guessed what the other party wanted to say. As expected, the Luo family's young lord Luo Zhen smiled. "I can bring young noble out of the Fiend God Plains safely. Moreover, as long as young noble stays in my Luo Manor's territory, nothing will happen." Lu Yiping smiled faintly. "The condition is the fire dragon Buddhist scripture." Chapter 67. Luo family's young lord Luo Zhen frowned when he saw Lu Yiping's mocking smile. Then he chuckled, "I just want to borrow the fire dragon Buddha scripture. I'll return it to young noble in 1 month. The fire dragon Buddha scripture is still young noble's. You won't lose anything, you can consider it." Then he added, "In the Fiend God Plains, only our Luo family can protect you." Suddenly, Taurus Longjiao laughed. "Kid, what if we don't borrow it?" Luo family's young lord Luo Zhen maintained his smile. "Then I'll have to trouble you." Cupping his fists, he said, "Farewell." But when he walked out of the courtyard, he added, "If young noble changes his mind in the future, feel free to contact my Luo family. Then, he left with the Luo family's experts. After leaving, Luo family's young lord Luozhen's face was gloomy. "Young lord, are we not going to make a move?" one of the Luo family's experts asked. Luozhen shook his head. "I can't see through that kid. Moreover, the guards around him are not weak. Wait for our Luo family's experts to arrive first before making a move. Order all the Luo family's experts to come here as fast as possible. I want to make a move before the Yin Ghost sect and Netherworld Devil sect." Taurus Longjiao looked at the departing Luo family's young lord Luozhen and snorted. "He's the same as that little girl Luotong," Lu Yiping suddenly said. "Wait here for me." Then he disappeared into thin air. Zhou Cheng was stunned. He spread out his divine sense to cover the surroundings, even penetrating through layers of space, but he couldn't find Lu Yiping's aura. It was as if Lu Yiping had completely disappeared from this world. Zhou Cheng was bewildered. How did Lu Yiping leave just now? Was it a spatial dislocation? When Lu Yiping reappeared, he was already in the depths of the Fiend God Plains, a different space. This different space was located in the deepest part of the Fiend God Plains. In this space, devil chi soared to the sky, and nefarious chi raged, forming terrifying tornadoes. And in the sky above there was a huge black heart. The black heart was pierced through by 8 chains of holy light, locking it in the air. The entire heart was covered with dense demonic runes and emitted an eternal aura. The demonic chi around the heart had already liquefied and turned into demonic spirits. All the devil chi and evil chi in this space came from this heart. Eternal demon heart. Lu Yiping said as he looked at the gigantic heart before him. This was the ancient evil god Changliang's heart, the eternal demon heart. As if sensing Lu Yiping's arrival, the ancient demonic heart trembled. However, its power was completely sealed by the 8 chains of light, and it could not break free at all. Lu Yiping flew up and arrived in front of the eternal devil heart, looking at the 8 chains that were emitting a holy light. Each of the 8 radiant iron chains was tens of thousands of feet long. After passing through the ancient demon heart in 8 different directions, they extended into the depths of the void and became one with the space. Great Purification Array. Lu Yiping's eyes sharpened. Another great ancient array. Although this great purification array was not as powerful as the 9 ultimate god burial array in the battlefield of gods, it was still one of the most powerful great ancient array. Was it the person who killed the ancient evil god Changliang, who set up this great purification array and sealed the ancient demon heart here? Lu Yiping came before one of the radiant iron chains. With a pinch of his fingers he broke the radiant iron chain. When Lu Yiping snapped the radiant iron chain, the remaining 7 radiant iron chains shot out layers upon layers of radiant strength, drowning Lu Yiping. Each of these layers of radiant strength was enough to destroy an ancient mountain. Lu Yiping allowed the radiant strength to hit him. When the radiant strength that could destroy countless ancient mountains hit Lu Yiping did not move an inch. Then Lu Yiping came to the other 7 radiant iron chains and did the same thing, snapping the other 7 radiant iron chains. When Lu Yiping snapped all 8 radiant iron chains, the ancient demon heart's radiant light that had been sealed for countless years shook violently, and a terrifying radiant strength burst out. When the ancient demon heart's radiant strength burst out, the entire Fiend God Plains shook violently with a loud boom. At this moment, all the experts in the Fiend God Plains felt the Fiend God Plains shaking violently. Luozhen and the Luo family's experts were shocked when they saw the nefarious chi boiling in the air. What's going on? Why is the Fiend God Plains nefarious chi so strange? The Fiend God Plains nefarious chi had never been so strange. Hidden fiend devils also flew out from their respective sects' ancestral lands. Zhou Cheng was also shocked, and he stood up from the bonfire. Only Taurus Longjiao could vaguely guess the reason. Inside the strange space, the ancient demon heart's radiant light grew brighter and brighter. Nefarious chi soared to the sky like a boundless sea. Nefarious chi burst out, and the strange space was on the verge of collapsing. Although the 8 radiant iron chains were snapped by Lu Yiping, there were still 8 radiant iron chains that pierced through the ancient demon heart. But now the radiant strength from the ancient demon heart's radiant nefarious chi sent all 8 radiant iron chains flying out, piercing through the ground. When the ancient demon heart's radiant nefarious chi reached a boiling point, a divine stone appeared in Lu Yiping's hand. The divine stone emitted a 5-colored radiant light. It was none other than the chaos multicolored stone. The heavenly Tao fire appeared in Lu Yiping's hand, refining the chaos multicolored stone into a liquid state. Then the chaos multicolored stone's liquid state flowed towards the ancient demon heart. The chaos multicolored stone's liquid state revolved around the ancient demon heart. As it revolved with the ancient demon heart as the center, a human head gradually appeared, followed by the neck, chest, arms, and finally the lower limbs. A tall and sturdy young man appeared in the air. When this tall and sturdy young man's body was fully formed, Lu Yiping made a grabbing motion towards the void. Specks of light gathered in the void above the fiend god planes and slowly seeped into the young man's forehead. The young man's lifeless eyes gradually became lively and radiant. Several minutes passed in this manner. Lu Yiping stopped and took out a black divine armor for the young man to wear. The young man opened his palms and looked at his new body. Even with his temperament, he couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. After a while, the young man came before Lu Yiping and bowed respectfully. Many thanks to Lord for saving me and for helping me reconstruct the chaos divine physique. Lu Yiping looked at the prostrating ancient demon god Changliang and revealed a smile. Get up. After ancient demon god Changliang got up, Lu Yiping asked, who killed you in the past? Was the all-directional purification grand array arranged by this person? Changliang recalled. The other party wore a ghost mask, and the all-directional purification grand array was arranged by him. He was tall and sturdy, about 3 meters tall. His strength. His expression turned solemn as he said this, was extremely terrifying. Extremely terrifying. This was his description of that person. Ghost mask? Lu Yiping couldn't help but recall the masked man who had entrusted the heavenly secret chamber of commerce to auction the myriad god token. Chapter 68. Lu Yiping looked around and said, let's get out of here first. Then he and Changliang left the underground space of the wretched god plains. The restless nefarious qi above the wretched god plains calmed down all of a sudden. Luo family's young lord Luozhan and other experts were bewildered when they saw the nefarious qi calming down. Send someone to investigate what's going on. Luozhan ordered one of the Luo family's experts. That Luo family's expert complied respectfully. Right at this time, Luozhan's transmission talisman vibrated. He took it out and his eyes widened. Young lord, what's wrong? One of the Luo family's experts asked when he noticed Luozhan's expression. Luozhan passed the transmission talisman to that Luo family's expert. That Luo family's expert took the transmission talisman and exclaimed in shock. What? That blue-robed young man might be Lu Yiping. The transmission talisman was sent by Luo Tong. When Luozhan heard that Zhou Cheng knew his sister, he asked his sister about Zhou Cheng, Lu Yiping, and the others' identities out of curiosity. He wanted to see if his sister really knew them. Who would have thought that the blue-robed young man was actually Lu Yiping? Young lord, what should we do now? One of the Luo family's experts asked. Luozhan's brows were tightly locked together. During the Big Dipper Empire celebration, Lu Yiping killed the dark ghost sex young lord Hao Dan with a single slash. At the Soaring Flower Gate, one of Lu Yiping's subordinates, a divine beast phoenix, destroyed the Soaring Flower Gate's grand protective formation. On top of that, the Yellow Springs devil sex ancestor Su Xiu died in Lu Yiping's hands. Therefore, all forces were guessing that Lu Yiping's strength was at the peak of late-stage true god realm. Some even said that Lu Yiping might be an early-stage heavenly god realm expert. That divine beast phoenix should also be at the peak of late-stage true god realm. Zhou Cheng was bewildered when he saw the nefarious qi calming down. However, just as he was about to sit down again, he saw Lu Yiping walk in with a black-robed youth. Zhou Cheng was puzzled when he saw the black-robed young man. At this moment, he saw Taurus Longjiao stand up and smile at the black-robed young man. Little Liang, I knew you wouldn't die so easily. When the black-robed youth saw Taurus Longjiao, he smiled awkwardly. Greetings, Senior Xiaojin. Zhou Cheng looked at the ancient evil god Changliang and asked Lu Yiping, Master Lu, how should I address this little brother? However, Taurus Longjiao said, you can call him Little Xia or Purple Hair. Little Xia? Purple Hair? Zhou Cheng was stunned. On the other hand, when the ancient evil god Changliang heard Taurus Longjiao call him Purple Hair, his expression changed. So it's brother little Xia, Zhou Cheng greeted. Hearing Zhou Cheng's words, ancient evil god Chongliang nodded and sat down with Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping took out a jar of wine and threw it to the ancient evil god Chongliang. Chongliang caught the wine and took a big gulp. He wiped his mouth and said with a smile, "In this world, only master can drink your myriad ages wine." When Zhou Cheng heard that, he smiled and said, "So this wine is called the myriad ages wine." However, even supreme existences surpassing the heavenly god realm can only live for one lifetime. No one can live for 2 lifetimes, let alone 10,000 lifetimes. Lu Yiping remained silent. 10,000 lifetimes? Lu Yiping suddenly looked at a certain spot in the night sky and said calmly, "Since you are here, why are you hiding?" When Zhou Cheng heard that, he followed Lu Yiping's gaze and looked over. Someone is here? However, with his cultivation, he couldn't sense anything strange. Just as Zhou Cheng was feeling suspicious, he saw a blue-robed young man walk out from the depths of the night sky. After the blue-robed young man came out, he looked at Lu Yiping in confusion. He had a treasure that could completely conceal his aura. How did Lu Yiping see through his hiding place? His gaze swept across Lu Yiping, Zhou Cheng, Chongliang, Taurus Longjiao, Donkey Zhongjin and Zhaowen. You have the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture? He looked at Lu Yiping intently. Taurus Longjiao chuckled. You are the kid who obtained the Ksitigarbha Sutra? The blue-robed young man ignored Taurus Longjiao and said to Lu Yiping indifferently, "Hand over the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture and I will spare your lives." Taurus Longjiao continued to eat barbecued meat. Ancient evil god Chongliang and Zhou Cheng continued to drink wine, and Donkey was sleeping. When the blue-robed young man saw that, his face darkened. He jumped up and swung his sword. Thousands of sword rays lit up the sky. Void-shattering sword. The blue-robed young man's voice was cold. Zhou Cheng exclaimed in shock, "Void sword Qi. You are Tang Xiaobai's disciple." 3,000 years ago, Tang Xiaobai appeared out of nowhere. He was neither righteous nor evil, doing things according to his whims. He slaughtered countless experts from the evil and righteous sections. Later, he was besieged by the Great Celestial Gate and died at the Soul Burial Cliff. Although Tang Xiaobai was dead, the power of Tang Xiaobai's Void Sword Qi was still mentioned by the experts of Hengyuan world. Seeing that Zhou Cheng had used Void Sword Qi, the blue-robed young man said coldly, "That's right, Void Sword Qi." His thousands of sword Qi pierced towards Lu Yiping. Looking at the incoming sword Qi, Lu Yiping raised a finger and pointed at the blue-robed young man. Seeing that Lu Yiping was so careless and nonchalant, the blue-robed young man sneered, "Idiot. Kid, this Void Sword Qi of mine is a dual attack of the soul and physical. Even an early heavenly god realm expert soul would be injured if they were hit by my sword. Anyone below the heavenly god realm will die." However, right at this time, a beam of light shot out from Lu Yiping's fingertip. When this beam of light shot out, the powerful force caused time to stagnate. Wherever the beam of light passed, space shattered. That's right, space shattered like glass. The beam of light plowed through thousands of Void Sword Qi, plowing through the night sky, and slammed into the blue-robed young man's chest, piercing through his chest. The beam of light did not stop there. Like a falling star, it blasted through the night sky of the wretched god plains. Almost all the experts in the wretched god plains saw this dazzling beam of light. The blue-robed young man froze in midair, looking at his chest in disbelief. His chest had been completely pierced through, forming a huge hole in his chest. He was wearing Tang Xiaobai's robe of nothingness. Not only could it conceal his cultivation, but it also had an invincible defense. However, his internal organs, including his heart and dantian, were all gone. Everything in his chest was blasted away by the attack just now. Lu Yiping looked at the blue-robed young man and said indifferently, "With your strength and the robe of nothingness, even an early heavenly god realm expert would find it hard to kill you. Unfortunately, I'm not an early heavenly god realm expert." The blue-robed young man fell from the sky. Lu Yiping's attack just now was still destroying his vitality. His eyes gradually lost focus. A peak late-stage true god realm expert, one who had cultivated more than 8,000 heavenly god laws, died just like that. Comprehending 10,000 heavenly god laws and merging them would allow one to break through to the heavenly god realm. This blue-robed young man was already extremely close to becoming a heavenly god. His face was filled with disbelief. He had obtained Tang Xiaobai's cultivation method and ultimate technique, as well as one of the 4 great Buddhist scriptures, the Kshitigarbha Sutra. When he emerged, he thought he would be like Tang Xiaobai, stunning an era. But now, he had died in this dilapidated little courtyard. He did not even have the time to use the Kshitigarbha Sutra's ultimate technique. Chapter 69. Lu Yiping looked at the blue-robed young man's corpse, and with a wave of his hand, a book emitting golden Buddha luminance flew out from the blue-robed young man's body. It was one of the 4 great Buddhist scriptures, the Kshitigarbha Sutra. The Kshitigarbha Sutra's golden Buddha luminance was slightly different from the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture's golden Buddha luminance. The Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture's flames were bright, while the Kshitigarbha Sutra's golden Buddha luminance was dim and gloomy. Zhou Cheng looked at the blue-robed young man's corpse with complicated feelings. In truth, he had a vague idea of Lu Yiping's strength, thinking that Lu Yiping was just an early Heavenly God Realm expert. But now, it seemed like he was a mid-stage Heavenly God Realm expert. Subsequently, Lu Yiping extracted all the Heavenly God's laws from the blue-robed young man's godhead, merging them into Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen's godheads. Then he threw the blue-robed young man's corpse into the universe cauldron, and started reading the Kshitigarbha Sutra. The Kshitigarbha Sutra was the first of the 4 great Buddhist scriptures, created by the Buddha world's Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva. It contained the supreme Buddhism Tao's profoundness, even more profound than the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. However, Lu Yiping read the Kshitigarbha Sutra very quickly, and soon he finished reading it. He had a thorough understanding of the Kshitigarbha Sutra. Lu Yiping put away the Kshitigarbha Sutra, then looked at the night sky, and suddenly said, "Tonight's night sky is very beautiful." Only now did Zhou Cheng notice that the nefarious qi shrouding the fiend god planes had dissipated significantly. The night sky was dotted with stars, and it was indeed very beautiful. But the night sky slowly faded away. The starlight disappeared. After the blue-robed young man, the night passed peacefully. Lu Yiping stood up, and left the courtyard with Taurus Longjiao and the others. Not far ahead is the Dark Demon Hall's Fiend God Plains branch, right? Lu Yiping suddenly said. Zhou Cheng answered, less than 10,000 li away from the Great Desolation City is the Dark Demon Hall's Fiend God Plains branch. He then added, there are many experts in the Dark Demon Hall's branch, just true God Realm experts alone. There are 3 experts. As for the Divine Spirit Realm, there are as many as 16 of them. True God Realm experts were rare. For a superforce like the Dark Demon Palace, there would only be 1 true god guarding a branch palace. However, this evil god Plain branch palace had as many as 3. It could be seen that the Dark Demon Palace valued this evil god Plain branch palace highly. 3 venerables, huh? Lu Yiping's expression was calm. Lu Yiping's group exited the Great Desolation City, and soon arrived in front of the Dark Demon Hall's branch. The Dark Demon Hall's Evil God Plains branch palace was built extremely majestically. The palaces stretched endlessly, taking up an area of several thousand square kilometers. Looking at the majestic building in front of them, Lu Yiping signaled Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen to attack. Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen stepped forward and punched out. Instantly, fist waves surged. Wherever the fist wave passed, the Dark Demon Palace's buildings crumbled. Inside the Dark Demon Hall's main hall, Hall Master Yu Hai and Martial God Temple's Vice Hall Master Yu Zhifeng were happily chatting. This time, Martial God Temple's Vice Hall Master Yu Zhifeng was leading a group of Martial God Temple's experts over to join hands with the Dark Demon Hall to search for treasures in the battlefield of gods. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the main hall. Yu Hai, Yu Zhifeng, and the rest were dumbfounded. Someone attacked the Dark Demon Hall? The Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Temple's experts were in disbelief. Yu Hai's face was gloomy as he led the Dark Demon Hall's experts out of the main hall. Martial God Temple's Vice Hall Master Yu Zhifeng also led the Martial God Temple's experts out. The moment Yu Hai, Yu Zhifeng, and the rest came out, they saw 2 deep trenches on the ground. Clearly, these trenches were caused by fist waves. Many of the Dark Demon Hall's buildings had collapsed. Amidst the ruins, Dark Demon Hall's disciples' corpses were strewn everywhere. Above the ruins, a blue-robed young man was riding on a golden bull, whistling through the air. Beside the young man was a sloppy old man riding on a donkey. One of the Dark Demon Hall's disciples saw Lu Yiping and said to Yu Hai, Hall Master, He's the blue-robed young man who obtained the Fire Dragon Buddha scripture. The moment these words came out, a commotion broke out. Yu Hai was surprised to see Lu Yiping rushing over. He didn't expect Lu Yiping to come to them on his own accord. Whereas Zhao Zihao, who was standing beside Yu Zhifang, saw clearly that it was Lu Yiping. His face tightened and he blurted out, "Lu Yiping." The Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Temple's experts who were in an uproar immediately quieted down, looking at Zhao Zihao. Zhao Zihao said to Yu Zhifang and Yu Hai, "He's Lu Yiping." "What? He's Lu Yiping?" Dark Demon Hall's Yu Hai exclaimed in shock. The Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Temple's experts were all shocked. The blue-robed young man who had obtained the Fire Dragon Buddha scripture was actually Lu Yiping. Yu Hai stepped forward and cupped his fists. "So it's Zither Immortal. May I know why Zither Immortal has come to my Dark Demon Hall?" Lu Yiping smiled indifferently. "What's the matter? Didn't your Dark Demon Hall join forces with the Dark Ghost sect and the Netherworld Devil sect to kill me? Moreover, your Dark Demon Hall's main army is about to reach Shenwu continent, right?" Yu Hai's expression changed when he heard the killing intent in Lu Yiping's words. He smiled. "Someone is deliberately spreading rumors. There's absolutely no such thing. Our Dark Demon Hall has never had such thoughts." Lu Yiping looked at Zhao Zihao. "It seems that Martial God Temple did not take my warning to heart." Zhao Zihao did not know what to say for a moment. Previously in Empty Black Sea, Lu Yiping had warned him not to get involved with Dark Demon Hall. When Yu Zhifang, the Vice Hall Master of Martial Sacred Hall's Branch Hall, heard this, he knew what Lu Yiping was referring to. He smiled coldly and said, "Lu Yiping, you're meddling too much. It's not up to you to tell who our Martial Sacred Hall is allied with or who we walk together with. Who the hell do you think you are? Do you think you're the master of the Eternity Plane?" Just as he finished speaking, a pitch-black longsword suddenly appeared in Lu Yiping's hand. The longsword was unsheathed, and with a soul-shaking sound, the entire world turned dark. Everyone panicked, but in an instant light returned to the world. On the other hand, Yu Zhifang, the Vice Palace Master of the Battle God Palace, was clutching his neck. He looked at Lu Yiping and the longsword in his hand in terror. "Eye of Eternal Night. You're the King of Evernight's successor." Many Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Temple disciples did not know about the King of Evernight, but Yu Hai, Zhao Zihao, and the rest were shocked. The ancient demon clan's King of Evernight. At this moment, the crowd saw the Martial God Hall's Vice Hall Master Yu Zhifang's head rolling on the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded. Martial God Temple's Deputy Hall Master, late-stage True God Realm Yu Zhifang, died just like that? Zhao Zihao's expression was ugly. He did not take Lu Yiping's warning to heart. His father, Yu Zhifang, and the rest also did not take it to heart. Who would have thought that Lu Yiping really dared to kill Yu Zhifang because of this? The other True God Realm ancestor of the Martial Sacred Hall, who had come this time, looked at Yu Zhifang's head that was rolling on the ground. He looked at Lu Yiping in shock and anger. "Lu Yiping, our Martial Sacred Hall will fight to the death with you. At that time, we'll invite Martial God Juju to come out and behead you." "Is that so?" Lu Yiping said nonchalantly. "Then I'll be waiting. Kill. Dark Demon Hall's people die. Martial God Temple cripple." Lu Yiping's cold voice sounded. When Lu Yiping's voice sounded, ancient demon god Chong Liang, who had not made a move all this time, released a vast amount of nefarious qi from his body. Chapter 70. When ancient evil god Chong Liang's nefarious aura soared into the sky, the nefarious aura that had calmed down the night before started to boil once again. This time it was truly boiling. The nefarious aura in the sky was like boiling water, boiling endlessly. The experts in every corner of the evil god plane saw this scene that shook their souls. Luo Zhan and the Luo family's experts had yet to leave the evil god planes and saw this scene. What's going on? The nefarious aura in the evil god planes is the same as last night, and it's even more restless than last night. Luo Zhan was shocked. As for the Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Hall's experts, they felt suffocated under ancient evil god Chong Liang's nefarious aura. Even Yu Hai, a peak late-stage True God Realm expert, found it hard to breathe, not to mention the Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Hall's experts. Everyone was dumbstruck. Who was this young man? How could he possess such a terrifying nefarious aura? By Lu Yiping's side, there was suddenly another terrifying expert. Not only the Dark Demon Hall and Martial God Hall's experts, even Zhou Cheng and his donkey were shocked. Zhou Cheng, who was standing beside ancient evil god Chongliang, nearly fell off his donkey due to the sudden surge of nefarious aura. Before everyone's shock, ancient evil god Chongliang made a grabbing motion in the air. In the void above the evil god plains, the boiling nefarious aura suddenly condensed, turning into a giant nefarious hand the size of a mountain. This nefarious hand was filled with violent nefarious aura, and there was a faint ancient evil character in the middle of the palm. Seeing this nefarious hand, Dark Demon Hall's Hall Masters Yu Hai and Zhou Cheng exclaimed in unison, "Soul-severing nefarious hand." Zhao Zihao and the others turned pale with fright. This is the ancient evil god's soul-severing nefarious hand? Ancient evil god. One of the top 10 ancient experts. The master of myriad gods' greatest enemy. Ever since the ancient evil god fell, the soul-severing nefarious hand had never appeared. The soul-severing nefarious hand only existed in the historical records. And now, the young man beside Lu Yiping actually knew the soul-severing nefarious hand. At this time, the soul-severing nefarious hand descended. "Run!" Dark Demon Hall Branch Hall Master Yu Hai cried out involuntarily. "Soul-severing heretic hand has reappeared in the world. Quickly report this to Ancestral Master Lan Han." Dark Demon Hall's Patriarch Lan Han, the second strongest expert in the Hengyuan Plain. All the experts of the Dark Demon Palace fled in panic. Yu Hai even burned his lifeblood and vitality to tear through the void and escape. Soul-severing heretic's hand finally slammed down. When the soul-severing evil hand landed, the ancient evil character in the middle of the palm shone brightly. Layers of evil energy penetrated the layers of space. Dark Demon Hall's Hall Master Yu Hai, who had already escaped by tearing through the void, was once again blasted out by the evil energy. Boom! Soul-severing evil's hand imprint touched the ground. When the evil palm imprint hit the ground trembled, sand and rocks rolled, and the entire ground caved in. And in the area covered by the evil palm imprint, all the buildings in the Dark Demon Palace were turned into dust. Even the Great Hall where Yu Hai, Zhao Zihao, and the others had been discussing matters and had been reduced to dust. Countless experts of the Dark Demon Palace were pressed into the ground by the evil hand. But there were no screams. The evil palm imprint brushed past Zhao Zihao and the rest of the Martial God Hall's experts. Zhao Zihao and the Martial God Hall's experts couldn't dodge in time. Sand and dust covered Zhao Zihao and the rest. Zhao Zihao and the rest stared at the collapsed ground in front of them. Looking at the giant palm that covered the ground, all of them were dumbstruck. The Dark Demon Palace's 3 True God Realm experts, 16 Divine Spirit Realm experts, and numerous Emperor Realm and Ancient Emperor Realm experts were all suppressed by the evil palm imprint. While Zhao Zihao and the rest were dumbstruck, they saw the soul-severing evil palm imprint suddenly clenching its fist, pulling out several Yuan Shun from the pit. These Yuan Shun belonged to Yu Hai and the others. The ancient evil god Chongliang exerted force and crushed them, turning them into the purest Yuan Shun energy. Then, he opened his mouth and swallowed them all into his body. Soul-devouring devil scripture. Watching this scene, the true God Realm ancestor from the Martial God Hall paled. Who are you to the ancient evil god? The soul-devouring devil scripture was also the ancient evil god's cultivation technique. At this time, Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen also made their move, charging into the Martial God Hall's group. Behind Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen, gigantic elephants appeared. Both of them attacked with the heavenly elephant divine prison fist. In the past few days, the two of them had been cultivating with the True God Realm gold cores bestowed by Lu Yiping. On top of that, they had fused with the Path of Slaughter's assassins and the blue-robed young man's heavenly god law. Their strength had surpassed many peak late-stage True God Realm experts. How could the Martial God Hall's experts withstand their attacks? The Martial God Hall's experts were sent flying. However, the two of them obeyed Lu Yiping's order and only crippled the Martial God Hall's experts. Soon, the two of them returned to Lu Yiping's side. The Martial God Hall's experts were lying on the ground. Lu Yiping raised his hand and a suction force came from the ground in the distance. An enormous treasury rose from the ground, and it was none other than the Dark Demon Hall's Evil God Plains Branch's treasury. Inside the treasury were herbs, spirit stones, and other treasures that the Dark Demon Hall's branch had plundered from the evil god plains. These things were useless to Liu Yiping, but they would be useful when he established his force in the future. Liu Yiping and the others left the scene. The next battle was the Evil God Plains branch of the Evil Ghost sect. The Martial God Hall's true divinity realm expert felt his meridians, dantian and primordial spirit being completely shattered, and he couldn't help but feel despair and indignation. He looked at the departing Liu Yiping and roared, "Liu Yiping, our martial god will not let you off. Our 9 extinction old ancestor will not let you off. If you have the guts, kill all of us." At this time a sword chi pierced through the air. The Martial God Hall's true divinity realm expert's head flew into the air. The rest of the Martial God Hall's experts kept quiet out of fear. After leaving, Zhou Cheng had a complicated expression as he asked Liu Yiping, "Is brother Little Xia Lord the evil god's descendant?" Liu Yiping shook his head no. No. Zhou Cheng was surprised, then he asked, "Then you're his personal disciple?" Liu Yiping shook his head and didn't answer. A short while later, the Evil Ghost sect's Evil God Plains branch came into view. Soon, all the experts on the Evil God Plains saw that the nefarious chi that had just calmed down was once again boiling. Half a day later, the evil god's descendant has appeared. The soul-severing nefarious hand has reappeared. Dark Demon Hall, Evil Ghost sect, and Netherworld Devil sect's experts were all killed by Liu Yiping and the evil god's descendant. More than a dozen Martial God Hall's experts were crippled, and the 2 true divinity realm experts, Yu Zhifang and Sun Liang, lost their heads. Piece after piece of news spread across the Evil God Plains. The Luo family's young lord Luozhen and the Luo family's experts who were still in the Evil God Plains were shocked when they heard the news. This Liu Yiping, he wants to make the whole world his enemy. A long time later, one of the Luo family's experts spoke in a hoarse voice. "I heard that not only did he obtain the Fire Dragon Buddha scripture, but the Eternal Night Monarch's Eye of Eternal Night is also in his hands. Moreover, the Eye of Eternal Night has already acknowledged him as its master." One of the Luo family's experts was bewildered. "Now, it's rumored that he is the Eternal Night Monarch's descendant." Chapter 71. The young master of the Luo family, Luozhen, suppressed the shock in his heart and sneered, "Liu Yiping has now offended the Dark Demon Hall, the Netherworld Devil sect, the Dark Ghost sect, and the Martial Sacred Hall. Even if he is the successor of the Eternal Eventide King, he will still die." The Martial Sacred Hall's martial god Juju entered the sacred forest back then, and was already invincible when he came out. After living in seclusion for so many years, his cultivation is already earth-shattering. Unless the Eternal Eventide King revives, no one will be able to save Liu Yiping. With martial god Juju taking action, even the Tai sect's Jiang Yu will not be able to protect Liu Yiping. Another Luo family expert smiled and said, "Young lord is right, martial god Juju is extremely protective of his own people. Liu Yiping killed 2 true gods from martial god temple. With martial god Juju's temperament, he will definitely take action." Luozhen took out a blood-red jade and smiled. "Grandfather's birthday banquet is in a few days. He will definitely like this dragon blood jade." In a few days, sword god Luoning's birthday banquet would be held. He had come to Grand Desolation City to purchase this piece of dragon blood jade. This piece of dragon blood jade contained extremely pure dragon blood essence. It was a treasure that could prolong one's life. An expert from the Luo family laughed. "I heard that not only will the Tai sect's Lady Jiang Susu come to this banquet, but even the Jotian Taiching Sword School will send experts to celebrate the old ancestor's birthday. I think that even the Tai sect's Lady Jiang Yu might not have such prestige in the Hengyuan realm." Jotian Taiching Sword School. It was a supreme honor for an expert from the Taiching Sword School to attend a birthday banquet. Luozhen also laughed. The old ancestor has already comprehended 9,999 Empyrean laws. He will definitely break through to the Empyrean God realm in less than 1,000 years. At that time, with the support of the Taiching Sword School, the position of Master of Shunwu Continent will definitely belong to our Luo family. Although he had heard that Wan Wudi had broken through to the Celestial Realm, he believed that with the support of the Taiching Sword School, Their ancestor would have a chance of seizing the position of master of the Shenwu continent as soon as he broke through. Moments later, the Luo family's young lord, Luo Zhen, did not delay any longer. He left the Fiend God Plains with the Luo family's experts, returning to the Luo Manor. Just as everyone was in an uproar over the Dark Demon Hall, the Netherworld Devil Sect, the Dark Ghost Sect, and the Martial God Palace, Lu Yiping and the others arrived at the Cthulhuism Society. Ancient Cthulhu Chongliang looked at the Cthulhuism Society building in front of him with mixed feelings. Back in the day, he had founded the Cthulhuism Society, which had hundreds of millions of followers spread throughout the 46 continents of the Eternity Plane. Now, however, the Cthulhuism Society could only hide in a corner of the Shenwu continent and struggle at death's door in the Cthulhuism Plains. In the past, there had been countless true gods in the Cthulhuism Society, but now there were only a handful of them. Of course, the current Cthulhuism Society was no longer the Cthulhuism Society that he had founded in the past. Back then, his physical body had been destroyed, and his eternal demon heart had been sealed. The Cthulhuism Society had been besieged and invaded by the various ancient sects, and it had long since been destroyed. The current Cthulhuism Society had been founded by a descendant of one of its followers. Although it still had some ties with him, it was no longer his Cthulhuism Society. The arrival of Lu Yiping and the others immediately attracted the attention of the Cthulhuism Society's experts. "May I know why you have come to our Cthulhuism Society?" one of the Cthulhuism Society's disciples asked. Lu Yiping and the others did not speak. The ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang soared into the sky and raised one of his hands towards the ground. The ground around him rumbled, and one of the Cthulhuism Society's palaces shook. At this time, figures flashed. It was obvious that the Cthulhuism Society's experts had been alerted. After the Cthulhuism Society's chief came out, he looked at Lu Yiping and the others with uncertainty. Suddenly, one of the Cthulhuism Society's palaces exploded. A pair of giant sickle-shaped blades flew out from the depths of the ground and landed in ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang's hands. This giant blade exuded a shocking amount of nefarious aura. Blood energy surged madly, and it emitted a soul-shaking sound that sounded like countless evil spirits howling. The ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang held the giant blade with both hands, revealing a smile. "Old man, are you all right?" The two blades buzzed, vibrating and emitting a bright light. This was the ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang's divine weapon, the Cthulhuism blade. The reason they came over was to retrieve the Cthulhuism god blade. One of the Cthulhuism Society's experts said to the Cthulhuism Society's chief, "That seems to be the Lord Cthulhuism god blade from the past." The Cthulhuism Society's chief did not speak, but his heart trembled. The Lord Ancient Cthulhuism god blade had been with the Cthulhuism Society all this time. Just as Lu Yiping was about to leave, the Cthulhuism Society's chief spoke. "Gentlemen, you came to my Cthulhuism Society to take away our Cthulhuism Society's item, and you're planning to leave without saying a word?" Lu Yiping and the others stopped. Ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang smiled wickedly. "Your Cthulhuism Society's item?" He paused for a moment, then added, "What will you do if I take it away now?" The Cthulhuism Society's chief's face turned cold. "Although my Cthulhuism Society is not the Een Ghost Sect or the Yellow Springs Devil Sect, it is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Put down the Cthulhuism god blade." Ancient Cthulhuism god Chongliang suddenly slashed out with both blades. In an instant, two 10,000 zhang-long blood-red blade lights flew out, piercing through the Cthulhuism Society's chief and the Cthulhuism Society's experts' bodies. The Cthulhuism Society's chief and the Cthulhuism Society's experts couldn't react in time. They felt a chill run down their spines, and then their robes burst open. Every Cthulhuism Society's disciples had two blood-red blade wounds on their bodies. Blood seeped out from the wounds. The Cthulhuism Society's chief and the Cthulhuism Society's experts stiffened, feeling like their blood was about to freeze. "Let's go," Lu Yiping said. Then he sped away with ancient Cthulhuism Society's experts. After Lu Yiping's group left, the Cthulhuism Society's chief and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at the blood-red blade wounds on their bodies, they swallowed hard. If that young man didn't show mercy, they would have been sliced into pieces. Chief, could that blue-robed young man be Zither immortal young noble Liu Yiping? Suddenly, one of the Cthulhuism Society's experts blurted out. Zither immortal young noble Liu Yiping. It's him. The Cthulhuism Society's experts were shocked. Could that black-robed young man be Lord Cthulhuism's descendant? The Cthulhuism Society's chief swallowed hard. After leaving, Liu Yiping asked ancient Cthulhuism Society's experts, "Are you sure you don't want to rebuild the Cthulhuism Society?" Ancient Cthulhuism Society's expression was complicated. In the end, he shook his head and said, "We'll talk about it in the future." Liu Yiping didn't try to persuade Cthulhuism Society's experts as they headed toward the Luo Manor. Half a day later, they left the Cthulhuism Society's experts. Once they were out of the Cthulhuism Society's territory, they would arrive at the Luo Manor's territory. The Cthulhuism Society's experts were slaughtered everywhere in the Cthulhuism Society. Once they entered the Luo Manor's territory, the number of fights decreased. As they approached the Luo Manor, they saw more and more experts coming and going. Even the Jiutian Taiching Sword School sent experts to celebrate Lord Sword God Luo Ning's birthday. Isn't this a little too much? I heard that the Jiutian Taiching Sword School didn't send true god experts this time, but heavenly gods. A few disciples were chatting on the road in the distance. Chapter 72. Liu Yiping and the rest were surprised to hear the disciples' discussion. Luo Ning's birthday banquet? The dragon horn golden bull said with a smile. What gift should we give him for his birthday? The donkey glanced at Taurus Longjiao. Give him a few golden retriever. Taurus Longjiao glared at him. Give him your 3 donkey legs. Zhou Cheng looked at Liu Yiping. I didn't expect the Taiching Sword School to send a celestial expert to celebrate Luo Ning's birthday. He paused for a moment before continuing. Why don't we wait until the banquet is over before making our move? Now that the experts from the Taiching Sword School were present, Liu Yiping would have to fight with the Taiching Sword School's experts if he wanted to make a move. Wait until the banquet is over? Liu Yiping remained calm. There's no need for that. At this time, the Luo family's main residence was bustling with noise and excitement. The interior was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and the atmosphere was festive. The young master of the Luo family, Luo Zhan, and a group of experts were waiting in front of the main residence to welcome the guests. The ancestor of the ethereal sect has arrived. Present a Taixian sword. The master of the evil king manor has arrived. Present a 200,000-year-old Dragon King's blood ginseng. One of the Luo family's grand elders shouted. The ethereal sect and the evil king manor were both superpowers of the Shenwu continent. Almost all of the guests were from the various superpowers of the continent. The Reverence Moon Emperor has arrived. Present a pair of eyes of the phoenix. The Luo family's grand elder suddenly shouted. As soon as the announcement was made, a small commotion broke out among the guests. The Reverence Moon Empire was the second largest empire on the Shenwu continent, second only to the Big Dipper Empire. No one had expected the emperor to come personally. I've long heard that the Reverence Moon Emperor intended to form an alliance with the Luo family. It looks like it's true. The Reverence Moon Emperor and the Big Dipper Empire have always been at odds with each other, and the two empires are constantly at war. The Reverence Moon Emperor's alliance with the Luo family is most likely because he wants to use the Luo family, Tai sect, and Taiching Sword School's connections to suppress the Big Dipper Empire. Among the guests, someone whispered to each other. Under everyone's gaze, the Reverence Moon Emperor, clad in a golden battle robe, strode into the hall with a majestic gait, escorted by the Reverence Moon Empire's experts. Reverence Moon Great Emperor Lin Jun. He was a great emperor whose fame and prestige did not lose out to the great emperor of the Big Dipper Zhou Dingtian. The Luo family's patriarch Luo Zhan and young patriarch Luo Zhan welcomed Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun into the main hall. Not long after Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun entered the main hall, he heard the Luo family's grand elder's excited voice. Jiutian Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and ancestor Yuan Yihua have arrived. Patriarch Jiang Susu of the Great Celestial Sect has arrived. As soon as the voice came out, the scene was immediately shaken. Forefather Lin Yi. Patriarch Yuan Yihua. The Taiching Sword School actually sent 2 heavenly gods. The experts who had come from all over the world were all shocked. Even Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun, who had just entered the main hall, was shocked. Heavenly God realm experts were supreme existences in the Hengyuan world, and their status was revered. The Taiching Sword School actually sent 2 heavenly gods to the Hengyuan world. Although the Taisex Zhang Susu was not a heavenly god realm expert, she was still a peak late-stage true god realm expert. Moreover, she was very close to breaking through to the heavenly venerable realm. Her strength was comparable to sword god Luo Ning, and she was also the younger sister of the Hengyuan world's #1 expert, Zhang Yu. Amid the commotion, the Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua strode into the main hall. The Taisex Zhang Susu was a step behind them, and the Luo family's daughter Luo Tong was walking beside her. Luo Ning, who had been sitting peacefully in the main hall, hurried out to greet them when he heard the commotion. "Greetings, Lords Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua." Luo Ning hurried to greet them. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua nodded with smiles on their faces. Subsequently, Luo Ning greeted the Taisex Zhang Susu, then invited the Taiching Sword School and Taisex experts into the main hall. After the Taiching Sword School and Taisex experts entered the inner hall, the experts in the outer hall began to discuss among themselves. The Taiching Sword School sent 2 heavenly god realm experts this time. Could it be related to the heavenly god river's reversal? The heavenly god river was the #1 river in the Hengyuan world. It was also the most legendary river in the Hengyuan world. It spanned across several continents, and every 10,000 years, the river would reverse its flow. And when the heavenly god river reversed its flow, countless treasures would emerge from the bottom of the river. The next time the heavenly god river reversed its flow would be in a few days. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua entered the main hall and sat down, chatting happily with Luo Ning, Zhang Susu, and the others. While they were chatting, Lin Yi suddenly said, "I heard that recently, a junior named Lu Yiping appeared in the Hengyuan world. He obtained the Holy Devil and Father Time's cultivation dwelling inheritance." Everyone in the main hall stopped talking. Lu Yiping? Could it be that the 2 elders from the Taiching Sword School were here for Lu Yiping? Hearing this, Luo Ning hurriedly said, "Indeed, this Lu Yiping not only has the heavenly mammoth divine prison fist and divine time fist, he also has the Wan family's golden flames divine fist. Yesterday, Lu Yiping used the eyes of eternal night to slaughter several tens of thousands of experts from the Dark Demon Hall, Dark Ghost Sect, and Netherworld Devil Sect in the Fiend God Plains." The Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua were shocked hearing this. The eyes of eternal night. Yesterday, Lu Yiping used the eyes of eternal night to slaughter the Dark Demon Hall, Dark Ghost Sect, and Netherworld Devil Sect's experts. The news had yet to spread, so neither of them knew about it. Now that they heard about it, they were shocked. Is it the eyes of eternal night of the ancient devil race's sovereign king of eternal night? Yuan Yihua asked anxiously. Yes, it is the sovereign king of eternal night's eyes of eternal night. Luo Ning hurriedly answered. Is it really the sovereign king of eternal night's eyes of eternal night? Lin Yishuang asked. Luo Ning answered it should be. Lu Yiping used this eyes of eternal night to kill the Martial God Temple's deputy hall master Yu Zhifang. When he used this eyes of eternal night, the surroundings fell into eternal night, and the Martial God Temple's experts couldn't sense the surroundings with their divine sense. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua exchanged a look. Both were pleasantly surprised. If that was the case, then there was no doubt that it was the eyes of eternal night. Where is this Lu Yiping now? Yuan Yihua asked. Yesterday, Lu Yiping disappeared after slaughtering several tens of thousands of experts from the Dark Demon Hall and the other 2 forces. Luo Ning said, he should still be in the Fiend God Plains. If 2 lords want to find this Lu Yiping, I will send people to investigate this Lu Yiping's whereabouts. Lin Yi ordered. Use everything you have to find this Lu Yiping as soon as possible. The eyes of eternal night hid a secret that many people in the Hengyuan world plain were unaware of. 2 lords, please rest assured. I will send people to investigate Lu Yiping's whereabouts. Luo Ning assured. They should be able to find out Lu Yiping's whereabouts very soon. Right at this time, a Luo family grand elder rushed into the hall, reporting, Ancestor Patriarch, there is a blue-robed young man outside. He calls himself Lu Yiping and says he wants to see you. Lu Yiping. Luo family's young lord Luo Zhen's face tightened. Everyone in the hall was shocked. Luo Ning was also stunned. Chapter 73. Everyone turned to look at Luoning. Lu Yiping had actually come to Luoning's birthday banquet? Lu Yiping wanted to see Luoning? Why had he come? Luoning was also puzzled. He had never interacted with Lu Yiping before, so why had Lu Yiping come to see him? When the Taiching Sword School's patriarch Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua heard that Lu Yiping had come, they were surprised. Lin Yi teased, "Could it be that this Lu Yiping knew that we were looking for him, so he came here himself?" Yuan Yihua smiled. "I heard that this child's swordsmanship is amazing and extremely fast. Some say that he's even faster than our Jiuqian Taiching Sword School's Thunderwind swordplay." He then turned to Luoning. "Let him in." Luoning nodded and then said to the Luo family's esteemed elder, "Let him in." The Luo family's esteemed elder hesitated. Besides Lu Yiping, his subordinates are also outside. "What do you think?" "Let them in," Luoning said. The Luo family's esteemed elder respectfully acknowledged the order and then left. Everyone in the hall stared in the direction of the door. Recently, news of Lu Yiping had spread throughout the entire Shenwu continent, and everyone present was curious about Lu Yiping. Even Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun was curious about whether Lu Yiping was truly the most handsome man in the Hengyuan Plain, or whether his swordsmanship was truly outstanding and his zither skills were immortal. The sword was the leader of all weapons. Thus, almost everyone who cultivated had practiced swordsmanship before. Lin Jun was no exception, and he was also obsessed with the way of the sword. Ever since he had heard that Lu Yiping had beheaded Hao Dan, the Dark Ghost Sect's junior sect master, and that his swordsmanship was amazing, he wanted to see for himself Lu Yiping's swordsmanship. Although he was the second emperor of the Shenwu continent, his cultivation was no weaker than Zhou Dingtian's, and his swordsmanship was comparable to that of the older generation's sword god, Luoning. Everyone raised their heads in anticipation, all of them having different thoughts. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a blue-robed young man rode in on a golden bull. Luoning's face sank when he saw this. Today was his birthday banquet, and this Lu Yiping entered his Luo manor on a mount. However, when Luoning saw the sloppy old man and donkey beside Lu Yiping, she was stunned. "Senior Zhou Cheng?" Luoning could not help but stand up. Everyone was surprised to hear that. The expression on Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun's face changed. "Prajna Divine Beggar." Everyone was shocked. This old man was actually Pan-Ri Divine Beggar. In the Hengyuan Plain there were all kinds of legends about Prajna Divine Beggar. Prajna Divine Beggar was from the Great Splendor Buddhist sect, the #1 Buddhist sect in the Hengyuan realm. He was the oldest member of the Great Splendor Buddhist sect, and his seniority was even higher than sword god Luoning and Jiang Yu. He was an expert from the same era as martial god Juju of the Martial God Palace. Everyone stood up when they heard that the old man was the Great Wisdom Divine Beggar. Although Prajna Divine Beggar was not ranked in the Hengyuan Plain's top 10 super experts, everyone in the hall knew that Prajna Divine Beggar was a heavenly god realm expert. The Great Celestial Gate's ancestor Jiang Susu also stood up and smiled at Zhou Cheng. "So, it's Senior Zhou Cheng. I didn't expect to meet Senior Zhou Cheng here. If we knew Senior Zhou Cheng was coming, we would have gone out to welcome you." Zhou Cheng took a sip of wine and glanced at Jiang Susu. He grinned and said, "So, it's Beauty Susu." He then looked at the people in the hall and laughed, "Hey, it's quite lively here. But little Luoning, I'm not the one looking for you today. It's Master Lu who wants to talk to you about something." Speaking of something, Zhou Cheng felt goosebumps rising in his heart. Everyone's attention fell back onto Lu Yiping. Luoning couldn't figure out the relationship between Zhou Cheng and Lu Yiping, so he asked Lu Yiping, "May I know what Master Lu wants to see me about?" Lu Yiping said indifferently, "Back then, Yang Dong was invited to enter the battlefield of gods, but he went missing. You were the one who invited Yang Dong to enter the battlefield of gods, right?" Everyone was stunned hearing this, and they all looked at Luoning. The disappearance of sword god Yang Dong had caused quite a commotion. This matter was actually related to Luoning. Luoning's expression changed, but he recovered in an instant. He looked at Lu Yiping and said, "Ridiculous. I have no relationship with Yang Dong, and it's impossible for me to invite him to the battlefield of gods." At the same time he said solemnly, "I don't know how I offended Master Lu, for you to slander me like this." At this time the Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua walked over. Lin Yi's gaze was fixed on Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping, right? The Emperor of Eternal Night's Eye of Eternal Night is with you? Lu Yiping ignored Lin Yi, and his gaze fell on Luo Ning. His voice was cold as he said, slander? Whether it's slander or not, I'll know soon after I search your soul. Everyone in the hall frowned when they heard Lu Yiping say he wanted to search Luo Ning's soul. All of them felt that Lu Yiping was a bit too arrogant. He'd pointed out that the incident with Yang Dong all those years ago was related to the sword god Luo Ning, and he'd even disregarded the question of the Sky Sword Sect's ancestor, Lord Lin Yi. He even said that he wanted to search sword god Luo Ning's soul in front of the Taiqing Sword School and Tai Sect's experts. The Luo family's patriarch, Luo Zhan, couldn't hold back his anger any longer. He pulled out his sword and pointed it at Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping, you came to my Luo family to spout nonsense, slandering my grandfather. Today the Taiqing Sword School's 2 ancestors are here. It's not your turn to act presumptuously. Lu Yiping stared at the Luo clan's patriarch, Luo Zhan, who had drawn his sword and pointed it at him. Lu Yiping's eyes flickered with a cold light as he saw the Luo clan's patriarch screaming in agony. In the next second, Luo Zhan collapsed to the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded by the sudden turn of events. Everyone looked at the Luo family's patriarch, Luo Zhan, who was lying on the ground in disbelief. Heart sword. Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed, Heart sword. Everyone in the hall was astounded hearing Lin Jun's words. Sword Dao from lowest to highest was Mortal Sword, Earth Sword, Heaven Sword, Eternal Sword and Unbounded Sword. Above Unbounded Sword was Heart Sword. Heart Sword was also the sword of the Heart's Demon. It could be used to trigger the Heart's Demon to trigger sword chi, killing people without leaving a trace. Father. The Luo family's young masters Luo Yang and Luo Tong stepped forward to help the Luo family's patriarch Luo Zhan up. Luo Zhan opened his mouth and vomited a mouthful of blood. Luo Zhan, Luo Tong, and the rest of the Luo family's experts glared at Lu Yiping. Jiang Susu, the great celestial sect's ancestor, looked at Lu Yiping with a gloomy expression. A bright light burst out from her body as a shocking momentum surged out from her body. A godhead flew out from the top of her head. Strands of heavenly god's law coiled around the godhead, reaching over 9,800 strands. Supreme Godhead, Winged Godhead. Over 9,800 strands of heavenly god's law. Everyone exclaimed in shock. A Supreme Godhead was the hardest godhead to condense in the world. Even in the late ancient times, there were very few people who could condense a Supreme Godhead. Over 9,800 strands of heavenly god's law was already very close to the Hengyuan world's top 10 super experts. In the next second, everyone saw countless strands of sword chi around Jiang Susu. These strands of sword chi were black and white. Yin Yang sword chi. God-punishing sword. Jiang Susu's voice was frigid. The strands of Yin Yang sword chi around her turned into 2 sword rivers, attacking Lu Yiping. Chapter 74. Yin Yang sword chi. The ethereal divine sect's ancestor exclaimed in shock. This is the highest realm of the Tai sword canon. The Tai sword canon was the Tai sect's strongest sword technique. It was also one of the top 10 sword techniques in Hengyuan world plane. Once the Tai sword canon was cultivated to the highest realm, the Yin Yang realm, the sword chi contained the power of Yin and Yang. Everyone in the hall was an expert. Seeing Jiang Susu's Yin Yang sword chi, they were moved. The 2 Yin Yang sword rivers arrived in front of Lu Yiping in a split second. While everyone was shocked by Jiang Susu's Yin Yang sword chi, they did not notice several flying needles flying out from sword god Luo Ning's sleeves. These flying needles were formless and colorless. When they streaked across the air, they did not cause the slightest ripple in space. In the blink of an eye, they were aimed at Lu Yiping's waist. Just as the Yin Yang sword rivers were about to reach Lu Yiping, the flying needles pierced through Lu Yiping's waist. Indifferent smile appeared on sword god Luo Ning's face. Just as the Yin Yang sword rivers were about to hit Lu Yiping, 1,000 Buddha palms appeared behind Lu Yiping. Boundless Buddhism energy swept out. Affected by the boundless Buddhism energy, the entire hall trembled. Some of the experts nearby were forced back by the boundless Buddhism energy. Xitigarbha 1,000 Buddha palms. Seeing the 1,000 Buddha palms appearing behind Lu Yiping, the evil King Manor's Manor Lord exclaimed. At this time the 1,000 Buddha palms slammed down. The 1,000 Buddha palms were the size of small hills, instantly shattering the yin-yang sword rivers. Then they continued to fall on Jiang Susu. Black Tortoise Divine Armor. Jiang Susu looked at the 1,000 Buddha palms descending on her in shock. Light surged from her body, and runes emerged from her body. These runes formed a black tortoise shell around her body. The black tortoise was the divine beast with the strongest defense between heaven and earth. This black tortoise divine armor was a cultivation technique left behind by an expert during the Middle Ages. Its defense was invincible. She was confident that she could even block an early heavenly god realm expert's attack. Boom! The 1,000 Buddha palms slammed down. The black tortoise divine armor shattered like an eggshell. Jiang Susu felt as if her entire body had been struck by 1,000 huge mountains. She was instantly blasted into the ground of the main hall. The floor tiles of the main hall, which were made of green jade, turned into fine powder, and the surroundings of the main hall continued to crack. Everyone retreated out of the hall in shock. After everyone exited the hall, Jiang Susu was smashed into the ground. Her winged godhead had already shattered into countless pieces of sand, while Jiang Susu herself was embedded in the ground, motionless. Dead. The ethereal divine sex founder, evil King Manor's palace lord, Reverence Moon Great Emperor, and the others were dumbfounded. The younger sister of Zhang Yu, the patriarch of the great celestial sect, Jiang Susu, was dead. Even Zhou Cheng, who was riding on the donkey, gulped. Sword god Luoning was also in disbelief. Everyone felt as if the sky was collapsing. However, sword god Luoning was baffled. Lu Yiping had clearly been struck by his extreme nether needles, so why was he still fine? Once the extreme nether needles entered the body, they would travel through the body's bloodstream, and the nether poison would spread throughout the body. Now Lu Yiping's body should be stiff. While Luoning was baffled, Lu Yiping turned around and looked at him coldly. Are you curious why I'm fine after being struck by your extreme nether needles? Everyone was stunned. Sword god Luoning's face sank. What extreme nether needles? I don't understand what you're talking about. At this time the extreme nether needles that had entered Lu Yiping's body flew out from Lu Yiping's body. Not more not less, a total of 5 needles. 5 extremely fine extreme nether needles, as thin as a strand of hair. The originally colorless extreme nether needles were exuding shocking frigid chi, and within the frigid chi was a terrifying purplish-black chi. When everyone saw the extreme nether needles, they couldn't help looking at sword god Luoning with strange expressions. There was no doubt that when Jiang Susu attacked Lu Yiping, sword god Luoning used the extreme nether needles to sneak attack Lu Yiping. Some experts who were familiar with the extreme nether needles were shocked when they saw the extreme nether needles. The extreme nether needles had appeared more than 100,000 years ago, during the ancient era. Those who were struck by it were incurable, and even the Medicine King Hall's experts were helpless against it. However, after the ancient era, the extreme nether needles had stopped appearing. Sword god Luoning actually had the extreme nether needles. Lu Yiping, you're slandering me. Sword god Luoning glared at Huang Xiaolong. These extreme nether needles belong to you. How dare you use them to slander me? You said that when I sneak attacked you there were so many people in the hall, did no one notice? No one noticed? Lu Yiping looked at the Taiching sword schools Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua averted their eyes. In fact, both of them had seen sword god Luoning's sneak attack, but they couldn't expose him. At this time, sword god Luoning spoke to the ethereal divine sex founder, Devil King Manor's principal, Reverence Moon Emperor, and others. Everyone, this Lu Yiping is a cruel and merciless person. Since his debut he has killed experts from various sections. Such a devil, we should join hands to kill him. The ethereal divine sex founder, Reverence Moon Emperor, and others' faces tightened. Lu Yiping waved his hand, and the 5 extreme nether needles pierced through space, piercing into sword god Luoning's body. The speed was too fast for sword god Luoning to react. The moment the extreme nether needles entered his body, sword god Luoning felt the blood in his body congealing. A frigid air swept through his body, corroding his vitality. Sword god Luoning panicked. There was no cure for the extreme nether needles. Although he had the extreme nether needles, He had no antidote. In his panic, sword god Luo Ning looked at Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua. "Two lords, please save me." Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua both attacked. Lightning flashed in their palms, striking sword god Luo Ning's chest. However, it was useless. Even the Taiching Sword School's lightning astral chi couldn't expel or seal the extreme nether needles. Lu Yiping suddenly pulled sword god Luo Ning to his front. The Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi's face turned gloomy watching this. His eyes were frosty. "Lu Yiping, your methods are vicious. First you killed the Dark Demon Hall, Netherworld Devil Sect, and Yin Ghost Sect's experts. Now you killed the Extreme E Gate and Luo Manor's experts. A devil like you deserves to be punished. Today, us senior brothers will join hands to kill you, to rid Heng'un of this evil." Indifferent smiles appeared on Lu Yiping's face. These two clearly wanted the eye of eternal night in his body, and wanted to kill him to snatch it away. But now they were acting righteous and righteous. The Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua soared into the air after saying that. The aura of a heavenly god realm master burst out from their bodies. Surging heavenly god energy swept out like an ocean, destroying everything in its path. At the same time, violent lightning energy roared out from their bodies. Under the influence of the two heavenly deities, the weather changed. Above the Luo Manor's territory, thunderclouds covered the sky. At this moment, all the cities, sects, and families in the Luo Manor's territory felt a terrifying pressure. Chapter 75. Inside the Luo Manor, the ethereal divine sect ancestor, evil king manor master, and other experts felt as if a mountain was pressing down on their hearts as they were forced to retreat. Only after flying for a long time did they feel better. So strong. This is the power of a heavenly god. The ethereal divine sect ancestor was terrified. As the ethereal divine sect's ancestor, he was a mid-stage true god expert. However, in front of Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's heavenly god aura, he felt as weak as an ant. He could even put up a fight against a peak late-stage true god like Jiang Susu, but facing Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua, he couldn't even muster up the will to resist. The Luo family's young master, Luo Zhen, Luo Tong, and the rest were fleeing in panic. They only stopped after running for a long distance, their faces pale as they panted heavily. Luo Zhen looked at Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua, who were surrounded by lightning and looked like two ancient lightning gods. Despite his fear, he laughed sinisterly. With Lords Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua working together, this Lu Yiping is dead for sure. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked in Lu Yiping's direction. "I only hate that I can't kill this bastard with my own hands. If I had Lords Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's strength, I would skin him alive, break his bones, pull out his tendons and refine his soul." Luo Tong also looked at Lu Yiping with hatred. "Don't worry, after Lords Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua kill this Lu Yiping, we will beg Lords Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua to spare his lackeys' lives. His lackeys will suffer a fate worse than death." In the distance, Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun looked at Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua with admiration. "If I had such strength, I wouldn't have to worry about unifying Shinwu continent." One of the Baiyu's commanders said, "It seems like Lord Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua have already comprehended the ultimate profundity of the lightning energy. With their strength, even an ordinary early heavenly god wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from them. Now that the two lords have joined forces, it looks like Lu Yiping and his subordinates won't be able to escape." Zhou Cheng frowned as he looked at the increasingly dense lightning elemental energy surrounding Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua had actually comprehended the ultimate profundity of lightning energy. Their strength had exceeded his expectations. Could Lu Yiping withstand it? He was considering whether or not he should make a move. Was it worth it to offend the Jotian Taiching Sword School for Lu Yiping? His heart sank when he thought of the colossal Jotian Taiching Sword School. At this time, a long sword appeared in Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's hands. The swords in their hands were exactly the same. Lightning runes were engraved on their swords. These were the wind and thunder dual swords of Taiching Sword School. The two of them executed the lightning wind sword technique at the same time, combining the two swords into one. At that time, the might of the two swords would multiply. Under the two's heavenly god force, the wind and thunder dual sword shone brightly. Streaks of lightning became even more violent. Indifferent Lin Yi looked at Liu Yiping and said, Liu Yiping, these wind and thunder dual swords are our Taiching Sword School's supreme treasured swords. You can die in peace under the wind and thunder dual swords. Both of them drew their swords at the same time. In an instant, tens of thousands of sword lights lit up heaven and earth. The lightning that filled the sky turned into a sea of lightning. It was as if everything in the world was going to be swallowed by this sea of lightning. At the scene, the Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun, Ethereal Divine Sect's founder, Evil King Manor's Mansion Lord, and others were aghast at the scene. All the experts in the Luo Manor's territory raised their heads, looking at the sea of lightning in the sky with fear. The Luo family's young lord, Luo Zhan, looked at the sea of lightning and the tens of thousands of sword lights aimed at Liu Yiping. His fists were tightly clenched. Zhou Cheng looked at the tens of thousands of sword lights with a solemn expression. He took out the wine gourd hanging on his waist. In the end, he decided to make a move. Just as Zhou Cheng was about to make a move, two blood-red blade lights pierced through the sky. When the two blood-red blade lights pierced through the sky, a horrifying nefarious qi soared to the sky, shaking the entire Zhoutian. The terrifying sea of lightning was actually dispersed by the nefarious qi. In the next second, everyone saw the two blood-red blade lights cut through the tens of thousands of sword lights. In the next second, the two blood-red blade lights cut through Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's throats. The tens of thousands of sword lights that lit up heaven and earth disappeared in an instant. The sea of lightning that flooded the Luo Manor's territory also stopped. Zhou Cheng was dumbfounded. He finally saw the two blood-red blade lights clearly. They were the Fiend God blades. After the Fiend God blades cut through Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's throats, they were still spinning in the air, letting out a nefarious howl. The Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun, Ethereal Divine Sect's founder, Evil King Manor's Mansion Lord, and others were dumbfounded looking at the Fiend God blades spinning in the air. At this time, the Fiend God blades returned to ancient Fiend God Chongliang's hands. Indifferent ancient Fiend God Chongliang placed the Fiend God blades back on his waist and said, "What nonsense are you spouting?" Just as his words fell, the Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's heads fell from their necks. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Luo family's young lord Luo Zhan, Luo Tong, Luo family's experts, and other extreme celestial sects experts stared at Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's heads falling from the sky. Their minds went blank. Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's heads fell to the ground with a muffled thud, akin to two mountains crashing to the ground, kicking up sand and dust. The sand and dust drifted with the wind. Dead. Luo family's young lord Luo Zhan's heart was filled with shock and disbelief. The Taiching Sword School's ancestor Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua, two heavenly god realm experts, died just like that. Killed by one of Liu Yiping's subordinates in a single move. The Reverence Moon Empire, Ethereal Divine Sect, and Evil King Manor's experts finally regained their senses. They stared at the black-robed young man standing beside Liu Yiping. Killed two heavenly god realm experts. Although they were only early heavenly god realm experts, they were still early heavenly god realm experts. Eternal element world's supreme existence. Just like that, he was killed by a casual breeze. The sword god Luo Ning, who was still alive in Liu Yiping's hand, felt his limbs turn cold. He looked at the ancient evil god Chongliang and felt his hair stand on end. A chill spread from the bottom of his heart. Liu Yiping reached out and pulled out Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua's heavenly gods' laws from their godheads, then transferred them into Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen's godheads. Then Liu Yiping searched sword god Luo Ning's soul. Soon the soul-searching ended. Liu Yiping's gaze turned cold. As expected, behind sword god Luo Ning was the Yin Borer tribe. After the soul-searching was over, Liu Yiping's flame fell on sword god Luo Ning's body. Before everyone's eyes, sword god Luo Ning was reduced to a pile of ashes. "Let's go," Liu Yiping said nonchalantly as he rode away on the bull. Ancient fiend god Chongliang, Zhang Jin, Zhao Wen, and Zhou Cheng followed behind. Watching Liu Yiping, ancient fiend god Chongliang, and the others leave, the crowd stood stiffly on the spot, not daring to move. It wasn't until Liu Yiping's group disappeared into the horizon that the crowd gasped for breath. Some experts even lost their balance and fell to the ground. Everyone stared blankly at Lin Yi, Yuan Yihua, and Jiang Susu's corpses. "Who is that black-robed young man?" One of the evil King Manor's ancestors blurted out with a trembling tongue. pointing at ancient fiend god Chong Liang. Chapter 76. Rumor has it that he is a descendant of the ancient demon god. Now that he can even use the heretical god's blade, it seems to be true. The evil King Manor Master was shocked. Only a descendant of the demon god with the demon god's bloodline can use the heretical god's blade. The Reverence Moon Emperor Lin Jun had mixed feelings. I didn't expect Liu Yiping to have such an expert by his side. What is the strength of this descendant? I'm afraid he is a mid-stage heavenly god, or even higher. Mid-stage heavenly god, or even higher. Everyone's heart sank. After reaching the heavenly god realm, every small step was extremely difficult. Some early-stage heavenly gods couldn't break through to the mid-stage even after 10,000 years. Once they reached the mid-stage, their strength would be much stronger than an early-stage heavenly god. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that once they reached the mid-stage, they could easily defeat 2 or even 3 early-stage heavenly gods. However, Jiang Susu is dead, and Lord Jiang Yu only has one sister. He definitely won't let Liu Yiping go. Many years ago, Lord Jiang Yu was already a peak mid-stage heavenly god. Perhaps he has already broken through to the late stage. The ethereal sect's ancestor said. The evil King Manor Master said, this Liu Yiping has offended the Dark Demon Hall, Dark Ghost Sect, Netherworld Devil Sect, Martial God Hall, and now the Luo family, Tai Sect and Tai Ching Sword School. The Dark Demon Hall, Dark Ghost Sect, and Netherworld Devil Sect's armies will be here soon. Martial God Hall, Tai Sect, and even Tai Ching Sword School's armies will be here soon. At that time, Xingwu continent will be destroyed. The evil King Manor Master smiled bitterly. I hope that the place where they fight is not near my evil King Manor. Otherwise, everything that my evil King Manor has painstakingly built will be destroyed. The ethereal sect's ancestor said, I think I should just lead the disciples away from Xingwu continent and hide for a while before returning. The several extreme celestial sect experts who had come with Jiang Susu arrived before Jiang Susu's corpse. When they saw Jiang Susu's deformed corpse, their faces were filled with grief and indignation. They respectfully bowed before carefully picking up Jiang Susu's corpse and leaving through the air. Clearly, they were returning to Tai sect. The experts who had come to congratulate him also took their leave. In the end, only the disciples of the Luo family were left. Half a day ago, the joyous Luo manor had been reduced to a desolate mess. The head of the Luo clan, Luo Zhen, who had been severely injured by the heart sword, swallowed a pill and recovered quite a bit. Looking at the scene before him, he was filled with rage and hatred. His throat heated up and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Jiner. His voice was hoarse. You and Luotong bring the corpses of Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua to the Jiuqian Taiching Sword School. Grand Clear Patriarch, please uphold justice for the 2 of them and my Luo family. Luo family's young lord Luo Zhan and Luotong both nodded. Father, don't worry, the young master of the Luo family, Luo Zhan said hatefully, I will definitely bring the corpses of these 2 masters to the Jiuqian Taiching Sword School. When the army of Taiching Sword School arrives at Heng'an, Liu Yiping will die for sure. The head of the Luo family, Luo Zhan, nodded. He more or less knew about the strength of the Taiching Sword School, and the news of the Luo family's death spread like wildfire. Divine Martial was shaken. Sword god Luo Ning died without a complete corpse. Tai Jiang Susu was smashed into meat paste. Taiching Sword School's heavenly god realm ancestors, Lin Yi and Yuan Yihua, were beheaded. Regardless of which one it was enough to shake Divine Martial and even Hengyuan. The heavenly dragon continent was the largest continent in Hengyuan realm. It was also the strongest and oldest continent in Hengyuan realm. Not only the Long family, the Tan family, and Lu family, but even the Tai sect's headquarters were built on the Heavenly Dragon continent. The Tai Mountain was the tallest mountain on the Heavenly Dragon continent. The Tai Mountain stood tall on the Heavenly Dragon continent like a small continent. Between the mountain peaks, Tai sect's disciples could be seen flying on their swords. As the number 1 sect in Hengyuan realm, the Tai sect had over 10 million inner disciples. Not to mention the outer disciples, there were also the empires, dynasties, and various great family clans under them. At this time, in the main hall at the peak of Tai Mountain, the sect's founder Jiang Yu, was looking at Jiang Susu's deformed corpse. His hands trembled as he choked out, "Susu." Tears fell from his eyes. How many years had it been since he had last shed a tear? In the main hall, the sect master and many other ancestors were silent. After a long time, Jiang Yu stood up, his body filled with killing intent and sword intent. In the sky above Tai Mountain, tens of millions of sword chi condensed into sword clouds. The clouds surged and covered the mountain peaks. At this moment, all of the Tai sect's disciples were trembling. Lu Yiping. His voice reverberated throughout extreme celestial mountain. Everyone there could sense the monstrous killing intent radiating out from extreme celestial sect's ancestral master. Gather all of Tai sect's ancestors and elders, all of the empire's army, and all of the family's heavenly emperors. Head to Shenwu continent. The voice of Jiang Yu, the patriarch of the extreme celestial sect, spread throughout extreme celestial mountain. We obey. Great celestial sect master Wang Wei and the other patriarchs replied respectfully. In Tai sect, Jiang Yu's orders were like divine edicts. Of course, in Tai sect, Jiang Yu was the only god. When Jiang Yu, the patriarch of the extreme celestial sect, gave the order to gather all the patriarchs and grand elders of the extreme celestial sect, the Grand Hall Master of the Martial Sacred Hall, Di Lin, and the others were bowing in front of the Martial Sacred Mountain and recounting how Lu Yiping had killed Yu Zhifang. "Old Ancestor Juju, please come out." The Grand Hall Master of the Martial God Palace, Di Lin, shouted respectfully. After a moment of silence, a tall figure suddenly broke out of War God Mountain's belly. When the crowd saw the tall figure, they were all excited. They knelt down and said, "Greetings, Ancestor Juju." The person who had come out was War God Hall's oldest, most legendary, and most powerful ancestor, Wu Jujua. Wu Jujua looked at the kneeling crowd and said, "Rise. Are you saying that Lu Yiping is the successor of the King of Evernight?" Di Lin hurriedly replied, "Yes, he used the Eye of Evernight to kill Yu Zhifang." The Eye of Evernight. Wu Jujua was deep in thought. Although he had entered the sacred forest and become Lu Yiping's last in-name disciple, he did not know Lu Yiping's real name. "Is he still in Shenwu continent?" Wu Jujua asked. "Yes, ancestor." Di Lin respectfully replied, "We've received news that he's in Sky God Mountain, and the Sky God River is about to flow in reverse. He should be waiting for that day." After a while, Wu Jujua said, "Make your preparations. Follow me to Shenwu continent." When Di Lin heard this, he and the other experts of War God Hall were overjoyed. Chapter 77. Just as the extreme celestial sect's army and the Martial God Palace's experts were rushing towards Shenwu continent, another army flew out from the depths of the Ghost Demon continent. This army was the Dark Ghost sect's army that had been gathering for a long time. The Dark Ghost sect's army was as vast as the sands of the universe. At a glance, there was no end in sight. The Dark Ghost sect was the strongest force on the Ghost Demon continent, and it controlled almost half of the continent's forces. The Ghost Demon continent was one of the strongest and largest continents in the Eternity Plane. How many empires were there? How many empires were there? How many families were there? One after another, the armies of the empires gathered together, covering the sky and causing the clouds to change color. Every empire's army wore a different set of armor. Every empire's army had 100 million soldiers. And these 100 million soldiers were the most elite soldiers of each empire. There were more than 100 empires in total. Just the empire's army alone had more than 10 billion soldiers. This did not include the Dark Ghost sect's disciples, the empires of the Ghost Demon continent, and the forces of the other families. As the Dark Ghost sect's army flew through the sky, all the empires, cities, and families on the Ghost Demon continent trembled in fear. Some of the old ancestors of the empires trembled when they saw the two old men with strange runes at the front of the Dark Ghost sect's army. "It's brilliant ancestor of the Dark Ghost sect. Brilliant ancestor of the Dark Ghost sect has actually appeared." An old ancestor looked at one of the old men and said with a trembling voice, "Brilliant ancestor of the Dark Ghost sect. An extremely ancient existence. He had already hidden himself from the world 2 eras ago. Brilliant ancestor? Who is brilliant ancestor?" Some of the family heads were puzzled when they saw their old ancestors' shocked expressions. The old ancestor's voice trembled as he said, "Brilliant ancestor. He is Lord Sung Yu's martial granduncle." "What? Lord Sung Yu's martial granduncle?" A group of experts was shocked. Sung Yu was the master of the Dark Ghost sect's current sect master. He was ranked third in the Eternity Plane's top 10 experts. And Brilliant Ancestor was his martial granduncle. How earth-shattering would his cultivation be? Who is that old man beside Brilliant Ancestor? Everyone was shocked and couldn't help but ask. But no one recognized the old man beside Brilliant Ancestor. However, since he was able to walk alongside Ancestor Brilliant, it could be assumed that he was in existence not inferior to Ancestor Brilliant. The old man Tang Ji, who was walking beside Brilliant Ancestor, said with a sharp voice, "Old Huang, is there a need to mobilize so many people just to kill a junior? Actually, I can just go there myself and twist off that Lu Yiping's head." Brilliant Ancestor shook his head. His voice was low as he looked at the sky with his turbid eyes. "I will personally bring the Eye of Eternal Night back. Furthermore, the Heavenly God's river has been flowing in reverse for 1,000,000 years. The item that emerges will definitely be extraordinary. Even Lord Juju has come out. Lord Nine Extinction coming into being this time might not be aiming for the Heavenly God river. Old Ghost Gu, White Impermanence, and the others have also come out." Hearing this, Tang Ji was shocked. "Lord Juju has come out." Brilliant Ancestor nodded. "That's right, this time, the Heavenly God river's flow might be able to increase one's lifespan. Even Empyrean gods, or even existences that surpassed Empyrean gods, had limited lifespans. No one could live forever and never grow old. Thus, for old freaks who had lived long enough, techniques and weapons were not important. What was important was items that could increase one's lifespan. Every 10,000 years, the Heavenly God river would flow in reverse, and countless treasures would appear. However, every 1,000,000 years a rare item would appear. Brilliant Ancestor continued, "1,000,000 years ago, I heard that a 1,000,000-year 9-colored mushroom appeared." A 1,000,000-year 9-colored mushroom. Tang Ji was shocked. A 9-colored mushroom was an item that could increase one's lifespan, and a 1,000,000-year 9-colored mushroom was definitely rare. Brilliant Ancestor nodded. "However, it's been too long and there's no way to verify it. Furthermore, there are no records of this in the Divine Canon, so I don't know if it's true or not. This is a record that I saw on a broken stele in a cave. Silent Continent. In the extreme north was a dark and endless mountain range. This was where the Dark Demon Hall's headquarters was located. At this time, the Dark Demon Hall's army was majestically moving towards Xinwu Continent. Although the Dark Demon Hall's army was not as large as the Dark Ghost Sect's army, it was still extremely large. Furthermore, the Empire's army under its command was powerful, and it was not any weaker than the Dark Ghost Sect's Empire's army. The leader of the Dark Demon Hall's army was a skinny old man with dark green eyes. This old man was the Old Gu that Brilliant Ancestor of the Dark Ghost Sect had mentioned. Old Gu's surname was Gu, but no one knew his real name. "Old Ancestor, we've just received news that Martial God Juju of the Martial God Hall has appeared, and is rushing towards Xinwu Continent with the other experts of the Martial God Hall." Dark Demon Hall's Hall Master Yin Qing respectfully reported to Old Gu, "Brilliant Ancestor, White Impermanence, and Jiang Yu are also rushing towards Xinwu Continent." Old Gu grunted and recalled, "I wonder if those old fellows have improved their strength." Dark Demon Hall's Hall Master Yin Qing said, "I heard that Brilliant Ancestor has appeared this time for Lu Yiping's Eye of Eternal Night. One of the goals of the Dark Demon Hall this time was the Eye of Eternal Night." Old Gu coldly said, "This time, I must obtain the Eye of Eternal Night." No one from the Dark Demon Hall dared to make a sound. Tai's army, Martial God Hall's army, Dark Ghost Sect's army, Dark Demon Hall's army, and Netherworld Devil Sect's army had all moved out. When the news spread, the various forces of the Eternity Plane all changed expressions. Tai Sect's Lord Jiang Yu has personally led the Tai Sect's army to kill Lu Yiping. Martial God Joju of the Martial God Hall has finally appeared. Brilliant Ancestor of the Dark Ghost Sect, Old Gu of the Dark Demon Hall, and White Impermanence of the Netherworld Devil Sect have all appeared at the same time. This battle will definitely cause the heavens to fall and the earth to rend. In Xinwu Continent, the Yun family's patriarch, Yun Wei, heard the news and lamented. The The Yun family's young master, Yun Haitian, also lamented, "This Lu Yiping. It's a pity. If he was given enough time, he would probably be able to suppress an entire era." The Yun family's patriarch, Yun Wei, shook his head. How could it be so easy to suppress an entire era? Although he's amazing, he's still lacking. The Yun family's young master, Yun Haitian, said, "I heard that Lord Sacred Demon suppressed 3 eras and was invincible for 3 eras. The Yun family's patriarch, Yun Wei, had a look of worship on his face. Lord Sacred Demon is indeed the most amazing person since ancient times. No one can compare to him." He then said, "The Heaven God River is about to flow in reverse. Make some preparations. We will also head to Heaven Mountain and see how Lu Yiping dies." "Yes, Father." As the Heaven God River was about to flow in reverse, the various powerhouses of Shenwu continent also began to rush to Heaven Mountain. The Heaven God River spanned across several continents, but its source was Heaven Mountain. The closer one was to the source, the more treasures there were, and the rarer the treasures were. Lu Yiping and the ancient heretic god Chong Liang had already arrived at Heaven Mountain and stood at its peak. Chapter 78. Lu Yiping stood at the peak of Heaven Mountain and looked down at the surging Heaven God's River. The Heaven God's River had existed since a very, very long time ago. At the very least, it had existed for as long as Lu Yiping could remember. The Heaven God's River started from Heaven Mountain and flowed to the end of the sky. It spanned across several continents, and the river was so clear that one could see the bottom of the river. The ancient demon god Chong Liang looked at the surging Heaven God's River and said, "There's clearly nothing in the Heaven God's River. But when it flows in reverse, how do those things appear?" For countless years, countless powerhouses had studied the Heaven God's River, but no one had been able to unravel its mysteries. Lu Yiping's eyes were deep as he looked at the bottom of the Heaven God's River and said, "The Heaven God's River has countless layers of spacetime that only appear when it flows in reverse. Under the influence of the reverse flow, the things in the countless layers of spacetime will flow out." Zhou Cheng was shocked when he heard this. The Heaven God's River has countless layers of spacetime? But why do they only appear when it flows in reverse? Lu Yiping calmly replied, "The world is vast, and there are many strange things. Some things that you can't understand don't mean that they are impossible." Taurus Longjiao grinned. "It's been 1,000,000 years again. This time, there should be something good in the Heaven God's River." It still remembered the scene of the Heaven God's River flowing in reverse 1,000,000 years ago. Lu Yiping smiled. There shouldn't be a second 9-colored divine Ganoderma. That year, the 9-colored divine Ganoderma had been taken by this fellow. At this time, powerhouses from all over the world arrived one after another. All the experts gathered around the god of Heaven Mountain. Everyone looked at Lu Yiping and the others on the peak with complicated feelings as they whispered to each other. At this time, there was an uproar in the crowd. "It's Lord Chan Qingyang. Lord Chan Qingyang is here," someone said. The crowd looked over and saw a group of experts flying over from afar. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man with a stalwart figure. His hair was white, and he wore a gray robe that gave off a lethargic aura. This was Shenwu Continent's #1 array master, Chen Qingyang. Chen Qingyang was not only Shenwu Continent's #1 array master, but he was also one of the continent's top experts. The Chen family, one of Shenwu Continent's 4 great families, had also been created by him. When Chen Qingyang arrived, all the experts present respectfully greeted him. Even the emperors of many empires who had already arrived came forward to greet him. Chen Qingyang smiled and nodded at the crowd, and then his gaze landed on the blue-robed figure at the peak of the god of Heaven Mountain. "He's Lu Yiping?" He was bewildered. One of the Chen clan's grand supreme elders nodded and said, "It should be this person." Then he continued, "Everyone says that this person's Guqin skills have reached the level of an immortal, and his swordsmanship is exceptional. I just don't know how good his formations are." At this time, Chen Qingyang's son, Chen Yuan, smiled and said, "I reckon that his formation skills are only a so-so. Otherwise, the news would have spread long ago. Back then, if the Dark Ghost Sect's young Lord Haodan competed with him in terms of formation skills instead of zither skills, I'm afraid he would have won." Another grand elder of the Chen family said, "I've heard that the young master of the Yin Ghost sect, Haodan, has already reached the stage of condensing talismans into an array. Furthermore, he can condense more than 4,000 talismans at once. His formation skills are even better than young Lord Zhao Zihao's. While the Chun clan's people were discussing, there was a sudden commotion. Martial God Hall's branch hall master Zhao Xiong was leading a group of experts over. Accompanying him were the Yun family's patriarch Yun Wei, Yun Haitian, and other experts. When Chun Qingyang saw this, he led the Chun clan's experts forward to greet Zhao Xiong, Yun Wei, and the others. At this point, of the Shunwu continent's 4 great families, only the Wan family had not arrived. Martial God Hall's Zhao Xiong arrived and looked at Lu Yiping's figure from afar. His eyes were filled with coldness. In the evil god plains, his son Zhao Zihao had had his meridians, dantian, and primordial spirit shattered by Lu Yiping's subordinates. Now he was a cripple. Hall Master, don't worry. Martial God Juju will lead our Martial God Hall's army here soon. When Martial God Juju arrives, Lu Yiping will die. One of the Martial God Hall's experts said. Zhao Xiong nodded and suppressed the killing intent in his heart. At this time, someone in the crowd excitedly shouted, "It's Lord Jiangyu. Lord Jiangyu is here." Everyone looked over. Sure enough, the extreme celestial sex experts were rushing over from the horizon. They were so majestic that the entire sky was covered by them. Leading them was Hengyuan Plains #1 expert Jiang Yu. Behind Jiang Yu were extreme celestial sex ancestors, grand elders, elders, and disciples. There were also many empires' army and many families' experts. Even though they were separated by a great distance, everyone could still feel Jiang Yu's towering killing intent. Layers of sword qi condensed in the sky and moved along with Jiang Yu. The auras of countless extreme celestial sex experts were like a torrential flood, rolling over and covering the sky as if they wanted to drown the world. Everyone present was alarmed as they looked at the extreme celestial sex army that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Some of the experts who had been surrounding the heavenly mountain hurriedly retreated, afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. When Zhao Xiong saw Jiang Yu leading the extreme celestial sex experts, his face lit up with joy. He smiled at Chun Qingyang and Yun Wei, saying, "Both of you, Lord Jiang Yu has arrived. Let us go up and greet him." Chun Qingyang and Yun Wei nodded. However, just as the 3 of them were about to step forward, they suddenly saw a myriad of ghosts wailing in the horizon. A chilling aura surged and the world seemed to freeze. The Dark Ghost Sect. Everyone's expression changed drastically. The Dark Ghost Sect's army was so powerful that it even overshadowed the extreme celestial sex army. Its brilliant ancestor. When Zhao Xiong, Yun Wei, and the rest saw Brilliant Ancestor, who was at the front of the Dark Ghost Sect's army, their voices trembled. Although they were considered hegemons in the Shunwu continent, they were still afraid when facing a terrifying old demon like Brilliant Ancestor. Although Brilliant Ancestor had been in seclusion for many years, his demonic reputation was too great. However, right after the Dark Ghost Sect's army arrived, 2 more dark and demonic auras appeared in the horizon. The Dark Demon Hall's army and the Netherworld Devil Sect's army had arrived. Extreme Celestial Sect, Dark Demon Hall, and the Netherworld Devil Sect's armies came from the east, west, north, and south. As the various experts retreated in panic, the 4 armies finally arrived. The Divine Sky Mountain was completely surrounded. From the Divine Sky Mountain, it was impossible to see the sky outside. This was because the world outside had been completely submerged by the 4 armies. The extreme celestial sects Jiang Yu looked at Brilliant Ancestor, Lonely Old Ghost, and White Impermanence and said, "Seniors, please give me Lu Yiping's life. I don't want the Eternal Night Eye, Astronomical Divine Hell Fist, and Divine Time Fist manuals that he has." Brilliant Ancestor's face, which was covered in strange runes, revealed a smile. "That's easy. I don't want his life. I only want the Eternal Night Eye." Dark Demon Hall's Lonely Old Ghost chuckled. "I also only want the Eternal Night Eye." Chapter 79. The Netherworld Devil Sex by Wu Cheng did not speak. His face was as white as a sheet of white paint, but he stared at Lu Yiping without any expression. Jiang Yu said to Brilliant Ancestor and Old Gu, "After I kill Lu Yiping, the Eyes of Eternal Night will belong to the 2 seniors, Brilliant Ancestor and Old Gu looked at each other and hesitated for a moment before nodding. Jiang Yu turned around and looked coldly at Lu Yiping. My sister died under your Ksitagarbha 1,000 Buddha hands. I also want to experience your Ksitagarbha 1,000 Buddha hands. Let's see if the 4 great Buddhist scriptures are as powerful as the legends say. After he finished speaking, sword chi filled his body. The sword chi around his body spread out like waves, spreading out in all directions. Amidst the waves of sword chi, a fiery light appeared. Then water light appeared, followed by gold light, wood light, and earth light. 5 different lights illuminated heaven and earth, brightening up the world. Everyone was shocked. This is the 5 elements sword chi. Chen Qingyang exclaimed. The Dark Ghost Sect's Brilliant Ancestor, Dark Demon Hall's Old Gu, and the Netherworld Devil Sects by Wuchang were shocked when they saw the 5 elements sword chi. Chen Qingyang's son, Chen Yuan, asked, Father, is this the 5 elements sword that no one has succeeded in cultivating since ancient times? Chen Qingyang's face was solemn. That's right. Above the heart sword is the space-time sword. Above the space-time sword is the 5 elements sword. When heaven and earth were created, the primordial chaos was born, and the 5 elements formed all living things. All living things in the world are formed from the 5 elements. However, comprehending the 5 elements Tao is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Thus, no one has succeeded in cultivating the 5 elements sword since ancient times. But now Jiang Yu from Great Celestial Sect had succeeded. Tang Ji, who was standing beside Brilliant Ancestor, also praised, this kid is worthy of being called the strongest person in Hung Yuan's generation. There weren't many people who could receive his praise. Now that they saw Jiang Yu's 5 elements sword, they also praised from the bottom of their hearts. At this time, the 5 elements sword chi around Jiang Yu continued to increase, spreading out and strengthening. Within the 5 elemental sword chi, the 5 elements of water, fire, metal, earth, and would continue to evolve and transform. It was like a new 5 elemental world. As for Extreme Celestial Sect's Jiang Yu, his aura continued to rise. Peak Middle Heavenly God, Yin Ghost Sect's Brilliant Ancestor said. He might break through to late Heavenly God at any time. This was Jiang Yu's realm. Although he hasn't broken through to the late Heavenly God realm, the 5 elemental sword's battle prowess is enough to fight a late Heavenly God realm expert. Old Man Gu from the Dark Demon Hall said. Lu Yiping did not attack. Instead, he allowed Extreme Celestial Sect's Jiang Yu to mobilize the 5 elemental sword beams, allowing him to unleash his full power. Taurus Longjiao scratched his ears impatiently. Finally, the Extreme Celestial Sect's Jiang Yu's 5 elemental sword chi reached its peak. His peak mid-heavenly god divine energy was pushed to the limit. He looked at Lu Yiping, who was still standing with his hands behind his back. His eyes were cold as he said, Several hundred years ago, I comprehended the 5 elemental sword chi. My 5 elemental sword chi is enough to split the heavens and earth. Are you ready? Lu Yiping looked at Jiang Yu's 5 elemental sword chi and said indifferently, It's just 5 elemental sword chi. I can kill you with a flick of my finger. Make your move. Lu Yiping's words caused an uproar in the surroundings. Extreme Celestial Sect's Jiang Yu's face sank when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words. Sword light burst out from his eyes and he laughed loudly. Good. Then I'll wait for you to kill me with a flick of your finger. With that said, the 5 elemental sword chi around Jiang Yu's body surged towards Lu Yiping. The 5 elemental sword chi soared to the sky, covering the sky and earth with destructive power. In the blink of an eye, it reached the peak of the heavenly mountain. Right at this time, a loud shout came from the distant horizon. Power of 10,000 gods. Following that, a huge city broke through the sky. This huge city was filled with surging godly energy. Countless ancient godly spirits floated in the city. The city met Jiang Yu's 5 elemental sword chi head-on. Clang! 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 The 5 elemental sword chi bombarded the huge city, causing a series of explosions that sounded like thunder and sent out layers of light. Everyone was surprised. Everyone looked at the huge city that had suddenly appeared. The Celestial City. Many experts were shocked. The Celestial City was Shenwu Continent's #1 city. Following that, everyone looked at the horizon and saw a person walking through the air. It was the master of the Shenwu Continent, Wan Wudi. The Celestial City is an ancient supreme artifact that was refined by the Master of Myriad Gods and his subordinates. After the Master of Myriad Gods fell, no one has ever heard of anyone being able to control the Celestial City, but Wan Wuti has actually taken control. The Ghost Sexton Yu was shocked. Among the top 10 experts he was ranked 3rd, while Wan Wuti was ranked 4th. A few days ago, everyone had heard that Wan Wuti had broken through to the Celestial God Realm and taken control of the Celestial City. He hadn't believed it, but now that he saw that Wan Wuti had really taken control of the city, he was shocked. When everyone saw that Wan Wuti, who had just broken through, had used the city to block Jiang Yu's 5 elemental sword qi, they were all amazed by the city's power. But why did Wan Wuti stop him? An ancestor was puzzled. Everyone was also puzzled. They couldn't understand why Wan Wuti had stopped Jiang Yu from killing Lu Yiping. Behind Wan Wuti were the Wan family's ancestors, grand elders, and elders, as well as the Wan family's army and the various empires' armies. In the blink of an eye, Wan Wuti arrived in front of everyone. Jiang Yu looked at Wan Wuti with a gloomy expression, his eyes cold as he asked, "Wan Wuti, what is the meaning of this?" Wan Wuti didn't look at Jiang Yu, instead walking towards Lu Yiping. Everyone looked at each other, not understanding what Wan Wuti was trying to do. Just as everyone was puzzled, Wan Wuti arrived in front of Lu Yiping and knelt down in fear and trepidation. "Wan Wuti greets Lord." Everyone was stunned. At this time Wan Wuti kowtowed again. Wan Wuti was a step too late. "Please forgive me, Lord." Everyone was dumbfounded. "Lord? Lu Yiping? Forgive me? What was going on?" Everyone was in disbelief, and they couldn't wrap their heads around the situation. Even Jiang Yu himself, the Ghost Sect's brilliant ancestor, Dark Demon Hall's old ghost Gu, and the Yellow Springs Devil Sects by Wu Chang were stunned. As the master of the Xinwu continent, when had Wan Wuti submitted to Lu Yiping? They had heard that Lu Yiping had gone to the Tian capital to fight with the Wan family a few days ago. Lu Yiping had even entered the Wan family's ancestral land. Could it be that Wan Wuti had submitted to Lu Yiping at that time? "Get up." Lu Yiping looked at the kneeling Wan Wuti and said indifferently. Only then did Wan Wuti stand up respectfully. Indifferent, Jiang Yu looked at Wan Wuti. "Wan Wuti, I don't care what made you submit to Lu Yiping. Today I will kill Lu Yiping. Get lost now. Otherwise, I'll destroy you and the Wan family." At this time, the Martial God Hall's army was also approaching the Xinwu continent. Because the Martial God Hall was located far away from the continent, they were slower than the Ghost Sect, Dark Demon Hall, and Yellow Springs Devil Sect. Wu Jujua looked at the Xinwu continent in front of him with complicated emotions. He didn't know how his master was doing, but his lifespan was about to run out. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to see his master again in this lifetime. Chapter 80. Wu Jujua thought back to his days in the sacred forest. Lin didn't know what Wu Jujua was thinking, but when he saw Wu Jujua looking in the direction of Xinwu continent, he said, "Ancestor, we're almost there. I just received news that the Dark Demon Hall, Netherworld Devil Sect, Dark Ghost Sect, and Tai Sect have all arrived at Divine Sky Mountain." At that moment his transmission talisman vibrated. He took it out and was surprised. "What's the matter?" Wu Jujua asked. Lin hurriedly replied, "Zhao Xiong just sent news that Tai Sect's Jiang Yu has successfully cultivated 5 elemental sword qi." "Oh." Wu Jujua was surprised. 5 elemental sword qi. I didn't expect Jiang Yu's talent to be so high. The Grand Hall Master of the Martial God Hall, Lin, said, however, just as the extreme celestial sect's Jiang Yu executed his 5 elemental sword qi, Wan Wuti suddenly arrived and blocked Jiang Yu's attack. What's even more strange is that Wan Wuti actually submitted to Lu Yiping. After arriving, he bowed down to Lu Yiping and even called him Lord Lu Yiping. Lin added. "What?" Wu Jujua was surprised. When the experts of Martial God Hall heard this, they were shocked as well. Wan Wuti submitted to Lu Yiping? That's impossible, right? One of the ancestors was bewildered. "This matter is indeed puzzling," said the Martial Sacred Hall's first hall master, Lin. Wu Jujua muttered, "Speed up and rush to Divine Sky Mountain." Thus, under Wu Jujua's command, the army of Martial God Hall sped up. At this time, Wan Wuti looked at Tai Sect's Jiang Yu and sneered, Zhang Yu, you offended Lord Lu, which is already a capital offense. If you apologize to Lord Lu now, perhaps you will be the only one to die." Hearing Huang Xiaolong's words, the great celestial sex Zhang Yu laughed in anger. "You want me to apologize to Lu Yiping? Fine, then I'll kill you first, destroy your Wan family, and then kill Lu Yiping." With that, the 5 elemental sword qi around Zhang Yu's body surged, buzzing loudly as it charged towards Wan Wudi. Wan Wudi urged Tian Capital to meet the attack. Boom! A deafening sound rang out once again. Terrifying shockwaves swept out. "Kill!" Indifferent voice of the extreme celestial sex Zhang Yu rang out from the sky. Immediately, the sect master of the extreme celestial sect led the experts of the extreme celestial sect to charge towards the experts of the Wan family. The imperial army under the command of the extreme celestial sect clashed with the imperial army under the command of the Wan clan. "You are the descendant of the evil god?" At this time, the Yellow Springs Devil Sex by Wu Chang's gaze fell on the ancient fiend god Chong Liang, and he suddenly said, "The fiend god blade is with you, right?" Everyone's attention returned to Lu Yiping and the others. The ancient evil god Chong Liang smiled wickedly. "Little guy, you want to see my evil god blade?" The underworld Devil Sex by Wu Chang let out a strange laugh when he heard the ancient evil god Chong Liang calling him a little guy. "The martial god palace's army has arrived." At that moment someone shouted, "Een Ghost Sex Brilliant Ancestor, Dark Demon Palace's Old Ghost Goo, Yellow Spring Devil Sex White Impermanence," and the others all looked over. Everyone's gazes landed on the tall middle-aged man at the front of the Martial Sacred Palace's army. The Martial God Palace's Martial God Juju, the most ancient existence in the Hengyuan world. He was also one of the most legendary existences in the Hengyuan world. Even Brilliant Ancestor Old Foggy Gu and Bai Wuchang were of the same generation as the martial god Juju. When the martial god Juju arrived, everyone's attention was drawn to him. Even though Wu Jujua did not reveal his aura and merely walked calmly, the feeling he gave off was that he was a towering mountain. Wu Jujua seemed to be the center of heaven and earth. Heaven and earth seemed to move with him. The Martial Sacred Palace's Grand Hallmaster Di Lin, who was standing beside Wu Jujua, looked at the battle between Wan Wudi and Zhang Yu in the distance. He exclaimed, "Wan Wudi has really taken control of the heavenly capital city. However, the Wan clan's army won't be able to hold on for long." In terms of strength, the Wan clan was still lacking compared to the extreme celestial sect. After all, the extreme celestial sect was the #1 sect in the Hengyuan world. Di Lin looked past the Wan clan and extreme celestial sect's disciples at the heavenly mountain's peak and said, "Old ancestor, that is the king of eternal darkness's successor, Lu Yiping." Wu Jujua followed Di Lin's gaze and looked over. He was also curious about the appearance of the king of eternal darkness's successor. Due to the battle between the Wan clan and extreme celestial sect, Lu Yiping's figure was obscured by the army. Wu Jujua looked at the heavenly mountain's peak through the Wan clan and extreme celestial sect's disciples. When he saw the blue-robed figure at the peak of the heavenly mountain, it was as if he was struck by lightning. His entire body stiffened and his eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the extraordinarily handsome face. "This is..." Suddenly, Wu Jujua's body trembled and his eyes turned red. "Master, is that you? Is that really you?" Martial God Hall's Grand Hallmaster Di Lin did not notice Wu Jujua's strange behavior. He looked at Lu Yiping from afar and said, "This Lu Yiping is able to remain so calm in the face of the Dark Demon Hall, Netherworld Devil Sect, and Dark Ghost Sect's army. His temperament is not bad." At this time, Martial God Hall's Branch Hall's Zhao Xiong led the Branch Hall's experts to welcome Huang Xiaolong. "Greetings, old ancestor Jujua." Zhao Xiong and the Martial God Hall's Branch Hall's experts knelt on the ground in front of Wu Jujua. Wu Jujua acted as if he did not hear them. He walked past Zhao Xiong and the rest and flew towards the heavenly mountain's peak. Martial God Hall's Di Lin and the rest were stunned. Zhao Xiong, who was kneeling down, was even more shocked. Dark Demon Hall, Netherworld Devil Sect, and Dark Ghost Zhongzhong's experts were also surprised when they saw Wu Jujua ignoring Zhao Xiong and the rest and flying over. Ancestor Brilliant, Tang Ji, Old Ghost Gu, and White Impermanence were even more shocked when they saw the tear stains on Wu Jujua's face. What happened to Lord Jujua? While everyone was bewildered, Wu Jujua flew towards Lu Yiping. The closer he got to Lu Yiping, the more excited Wu Jujue became. Zhou Cheng, who was standing beside Lu Yiping, also had a bewildered expression. What could make an expert like Wu Jujue so excited? Amidst everyone's bewilderment, Wu Jujue came before Lu Yiping. Wu Jujue suddenly knelt down before Lu Yiping, unable to hold back the tears in his eyes as they fell once again. He choked with sobs as he said, "Unfilial disciple Wu Jujue greets Master." Unfilial disciple Wu Jujue. Master. Everyone's mind exploded when they heard Wu Jujue's name. Even the great celestial sex Zhang Yu, who was fighting Wan Wudi, froze on the spot. Master. The dark ghost sex ancestor Brilliant trembled as he looked at the blue-robed figure standing in front of Wu Jujue. Dark Demon Hall's old ghost Gu and the Netherworld devil sex White Impermanence were equally shocked. The martial god Hall's Zhao Xiong was equally shocked. Could he be? As the great celestial sex Zhang Yu froze, the great celestial sect and the Wan family's experts also stopped fighting. The earth-shattering battle cries suddenly disappeared. Heaven and earth quieted down. Everyone was looking at the blue-robed young man at the peak of the heavenly god realm. Even the heavenly god river seemed to have slowed down. Only the wind whistled. Awesome! Awesome!